Yo,
What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Broadway Joel, the voice of Dominican boxing. I'm here with boxing historian, author, journalist Jose Corpas. How you doing, my brother?
I'm doing good, man. Ready for this. Ready to talk today. Just had a little
Yeah,
earthquake.
yeah. A little earthquake can't do nothing to New Yorkers. The show must go on, especially here on, Broadway Productions. No, I'm joking.
I didn't even
Especially here on
feel it. You heard? I
what's
didn't
up?
even feel it.
No,
I didn't
I
feel
felt
it.
it. I
Nah,
felt it twice. There was one like around like
like four.
10.
It's like four shots already. Yeah.
Yeah, I felt it twice. There was one I felt like around 10:30 in the morning. And there's another one I felt like around 4 p.m., 5 p.m. ish.
I didn't feel shit, man. I was just. Everyone's telling me stuff was falling off their shelves and stuff like that.
Yeah, no,
Right?
I felt my house shaking. I definitely felt my house shaking.
All right,
Yeah.
man. So, what up, Joe? What we gonna talk about today?
Today we're gonna talk about Don King. Don
Yeah.
King is an infamous figure in boxing. Was part of a lot of big events in boxing, and a lot of people don't like how he conducted himself business wise throughout his career, his Hall of Fame career, may I add. Uh, and a lot of people, I don't want to say a lot of people, some people blame the dip in popularity in boxing. Uh, they blame him due to his business dealings and people not wanting to be interested in boxing. So the first question I'll ask you is, did Don King kill boxing?
Nah, he didn't kill it. Gave it a couple of black eyes though. He's a great promoter, but he would also like if he was around in the '80s, man, it's like every other year he was in the newspaper. Muhammad Ali suing him, Tim Witherspoon suing him, tax evasion accusations, FBI investigations. There's just a lot of some real sketchy, questionable stuff going on in the background. Like when he did the Ali was kind of foul. He um he shorted him like $1 million or something on the Larry Holmes fight, and then Ali was in the hospital when he filed the suit. So Don King sent them cash. Was like, here, take this instead, right? But he sent them, like $50,000 in cash. Kind of looked like a million, right? And then he made Ali right before Ali accepted it. He made him sign some paper saying he was dropping the lawsuit, and it ended up being only like $50,000 actually. So he gave him 50,000 instead of the million, but he got him to sign it. So every lawyer in the country will say he didn't do nothing wrong. Ali signed it, right? So that's how slick he was. So
Yeah. How did he get into boxing? Because from what I understand, he was like a numbers runner out in St. Louis, had killed
Cleveland,
two in Cleveland, excuse me, in
yeah.
Cleveland, had killed two people before
No,
getting into the boxing.
was it two people? I think it was just one.
Didn't
I
I
don't
believe
know. I know he
one he
shot
killed.
someone in the back that owed him money. He
Mhm.
didn't die though, or if he did die, I'm not positive. But I know the last words were, "Don, I'm gonna give you your money," and then he just bashed him in the head, right? And then the other guy, that's the guy I think that died, right? And he was they pled involuntary manslaughter, I think. He got pardoned for that later for whatever reason. He did a couple years for that.
Yeah.
4 years, I think.
How,
But he got
how-
back to your question. Yeah, how he got in was Don Elbaum did some kind of charity fundraiser for a hospital that had like no supplies, and they attached Muhammad Ali's name to it. And Don King somehow got involved, and somehow just muscled his way in. He started managing fighters. He started managing Ernie Shavers, another heavyweight. I can't remember his name at the moment. Might have been Jeff Merritt. I'm not positive. And then he muscled his way into Ali. But that was foul too, because Don Elbaum says Don they raised like 85,000 for the hospital, But by the time Don King had his clever accountants working, they only gave the hospital like $1,500 of the 85,000 they raised. Yes, sir.
Solid.
Yeah. So this is the kind of guy that you're dealing with. You know, Juan Laporte, former featherweight champ.
Yeah.
If you catch him in the right moment when he's not too busy and you can get him to talk, he'll tell you about when he was going to defend his title in Puerto Rico. They were ready to go. He was hyped, first title defense, maybe the second title defense. And, all his people and his family had flown in from New York, plus his family out there in PR. Hotels were booked. Everything was ready to go. And like a day or two before the fight, Don King says, I might have to cancel this because I believe if it was not Ruben Castillo, it was Johnny De La Rosa, right? You know Johnny De La Rosa. You heard him? He's the Dominican featherweight. He was real good in the '80s. And Ruben Castillo was from out west. I don't know if he was from Cali or New Mexico, Arizona. He was a real good fighter, Ruben Castillo. But
Yeah.
he was like 70 wins, and his only losses were like to champs. And it was Arguello. Who did he fight? He fought Arguello, Chavez, Juan Laporte, and maybe one other guy. That's the guys he had to go to win the title. Alexis Arguello, Chavez, and prime fighters, right? And Salvador Sanchez. That was the other guy he had to fight, right? So it's like, how you gonna be a champ with those three guys standing there? And it wasn't like today where you could get an email and then you're the champ, right? And stuff like that. And I'm not knocking whoever receives it because whoever sends me a belt, I'll take it, right?
No, I get you. I get you.
But yeah, there just wasn't that many around. So Don King goes up to Laporte like at the 11th hour and says, "Yo, we ain't I gotta pull the fight off. Ruben wants more money, and I don't have nowhere to pull it. We didn't sell that much, blah blah blah." So somehow he got Laporte to agree to take $100,000 cut so that he could give it to Ruben Castillo. And Laporte was 100% fighter. He'd have fought for free. He was one of those kind of guys, right? So whatever, they saved the show. He thought he did a good thing. A couple of years later, he's talking to Ruben. He was like, "Yo, you almost pulled out, right? You wanted that extra $100,000," and Ruben was like, "What? What are you talking about? I didn't get no extra $100,000." He found out Don King made all that shit up just to get that extra money, allegedly, right? And then he said he called up Don, and Don just did the do what Don King does. Because if it ain't in writing, it ain't happen. That's how the lawyers in the courtrooms go. So that's who you're dealing with. So Don Elbaum would always say Don was a great promoter, did a lot of great things, but probably did more bad than good. And in the '80s, I mean, there's a lot of negativity around him and those heavyweights. You ever heard of what they used to call the lost era of the heavyweights or the lost souls of the heavyweights?
It rings a bell, but I'm not quite 100% sure. It does ring a bell.
Right after Ali retired, right? And then it was Holmes. And then they had a couple of really talented amateurs like Michael Dokes, Greg Page, Tony Tubbs, Phil Brown, a couple other guys. And after a couple of years of working with Don King, these guys all became demoralized, right? And Tim Witherspoon and entered the ring flabby, out of shape. They were high half the time. And just ruined careers, man. So, yeah, he did good on one side, but did a lot of damage on the other side.
Are you alluding that he drove them to stress to go that way? He put them in environments where,
he was like such a suffocating type of contract. Like, for example, he would force fighters to train at his training facility, right? But then he would charge them to train there, right? So these guys are getting hit with these big bills, and they have no other option really contractually. I don't know the specifics. It might have just been close to fight time. He had them staying at houses that they were like, live it up just for you, and ended up, itemizing the expenses, and then it will hit them with an expense. And he would even loan fighters money. He would have the guys to do stuff like, let's say you fighting in September, you're going to make $1 million in September. So he'll front you the million in June, and then come September, you owe him 1.1 million because he charged interest on it. So he would have these guys in that negative, and and then after a while, it don't become fun for these guys. So that's why these guys almost stop caring.
Well, how, like, right? So guys who are boxers are obviously tough dudes. You know what I'm saying? And a
Yeah,
lot of these guys, they come from really bad areas and have really tough people around them, and are tough guys themselves.
right, right.
How didn't anybody? And I'm not advocating for this. I'm just putting two to two together. You stealing
Yeah,
100 grand from Juan Laporte, who's from, is he
yeah,
from?
yeah, for real. From Taffy Place, Bed-Stuy. Well, he's from
Yeah,
Guayama, but he grew up in Bed-Stuy.
he grew up in Brooklyn. You're not gonna
Yeah.
tell me he don't got people around him who heard that, yo, he stole 100 grand from him, that not willing to hurt this guy. How is it nobody ever hurt Don?
Yeah, well, you're dealing with lawyers though, so it's hard to prove this shit. So you want some street justice. I mean, how are you gonna hurt a celebrity, right? Somebody that it's real hard to reach these guys and not get caught. A lot of times, maybe when you mess up, you kind of sweep it under the rug, or maybe you don't talk about it until 10 years later, right? But it's very intimidating for these guys, contracts and lawyers, and they catch them when they're ripe. It's almost like a grooming process, right? When they catch them in the amateurs, and you give somebody a brand new Lincoln when you're 18, 19 years old, and you start thinking, you know what I'm saying, right? This is looking good. I'm gonna take it.
Remember that.
You start trusting them, and he can speak your language. He could talk to you. He knows what you want to hear. It's no different than grooming. Like these guys that groom 14 to 15-year-old girls.
Oh man.
And next thing you know, you're in a hole. But what they do is they catch you when nobody else is talking to you. Right now, when you live in large and fighting title fights, yeah, it's easy to say, yo, you don't need anybody. But when you're 16, 17, and somebody's giving you sneakers, sweatsuits, you don't have to work. Don't work. Just go to the gym, slipping you $300-400 at a time here and there. I mean, you almost develop loyalty or a certain what's the word when you feel like obligated to somebody, and that's how they get trapped.
I,
That's why a lot of athletics colleges and all that, they don't want players to get paid because stuff like that happens. So even though you could say they want to profit and they are profiting off it, part of the reason behind it is to protect these guys so they don't get corrupted, because money corrupts, right? So you take money out of it. It's an art. You put money into it. Now you got all the leeches and the parasites coming.
yeah, definitely things get ugly once money gets involved.
Yep.
How soon did he become a significant figure in boxing? Because
Almost right away. Almost right away, because he's managed a contender, and then he started promoting Ali, right, in some of his fights. So I want to say within 7 years or something, he started to own the heavyweight division, basically. At
mm,
least the main fights.
and how soon did he get his bad reputation of being
That's a good question. I don't know. With the insiders like Don Elbaum and them, I want to say they caught it right away. With with the fighters and the bad press, I'm not positive, and I'm no Don King expert, right? But I would probably say it might had to have been around the time of the 1977 Ring Magazine scandal, right? So what was happening? Let's rewind and try to put ourselves in the 1970s, right?
Mhm.
Boxing was dominated by Latin American fighters, except in the heavyweight division, right? Heavyweight was all Ali, Foreman, Frazier, Norton, um, Jerry Quarry, Jimmy Young, Ron Lyle. Once in a while, you had Joe Roman or Oscar Bonavena, Argentine, Puerto Rican, but for the most part, it was the United States Americans. And then light heavyweight, it was Argentina, Victor Galindez, Jorge Almada. You had the Matthew Sad Muhammad's in there too, and the Yaki Lopez, but middleweight was Monzon, right? Argentina. Welterweight, Napoles, Benitez, Palomino. John Stracy, who's from England. Lightweight was Duran de Jesus. Featherweight, Arguello, Olivares. You go down the road, it was mostly foreign, Latin American or Europe. So, so 76, 75, 76, the Olympics. And then whenever Rocky came out, those two back to back put boxing in mainstream America, right? The 1976 Olympic teams were everybody there was like a superstar, right? Leon Spinks, Michael Spinks, Sugar Ray Leonard. Who am I leaving out? Howard Davis, right? Everyone was a star there. So Rocky came out, great movie, great script, and then Don King got the idea to revitalize something called the American title, the American Championship. He wanted to go through every division and fight for the American Championship, right? So in the 1920s and 30s, the American Championship was like winning a WBA title or WBC title, right? You see some of the names that won it was like Gene Tunney, Harry Greb. That would be the equivalent of being like an alphabet champ today. So Don King tried to revitalize that. He didn't have his mind on world title yet. He was just going to revitalize the American Championship. So he reached out to the top contenders like Marvin Hagler at middleweight, and then it started leaking that in order to compete in that tournament, you had to like sign exclusive contract deals with King. So some of the top middleweights, some of the top like heavyweights, the welterweights, they bailed out. They didn't want to compete now because there's too many strings attached. So what did Don King do? He went to Ring Magazine. He somehow convinced the editor at the time, who was John Ort, O-R-T, and he told him, and maybe money's involved. Nobody could ever prove anything, right? Because in boxing, you just investigate until the smoke clears and then it's over, right? So the Ring Magazine started manipulating the ratings, man, and they were manipulating fighters' records. So all of a sudden, you had guys that nobody ever heard of, or that definitely weren't top 10, and they were in the top 10 now. And he could say Ring Magazine number 4, Ring Magazine number 6. And it all became a scandal with a heavyweight fight because ABC was televising it. And I forgot who it was that was fighting. I might have been Scott Ledoux, right? And he was saying it before the fight. I'm going to lose this fight. I'm going to lose this fight no matter what I do. The decision is not going to go in my favor. And sure enough, he like won every round. They gave whatever, right? It was a big controversy. And then it came out. There was a local writer named Flash Gordon in New York, in Queens. You ever heard of him? Malcolm Flash Gordon?
No, I have not.
This guy was like social media before social media ever came out. So he would go at home, he would write his own newsletter, type it up on whatever lithograph machine he had, and then he would sell it at all the fights and all the gyms. Right? It was called Boxing Update, I believe was the name, right? And it was like 50 cents.
My man was a real hustler.
Yo, the guy should be in the Hall of Fame if he's not already, right? Now, unfortunately, he started developing like paranoia issues and all that. He just disassociated himself from the sport. But he started noticing, yo, there's fake records here. This ABC, they're pulling a fast one on you. And he somehow got it into Alex Walu's hands, who was ABC TV, the president of the sports programming or the VP. And they blew it up. And next thing you know, the American Championships went gone. Ring Magazine started hurting. And Don King cozied up with Jose Suleiman in the WBC. And next thing you know, all his fighters had WBC belts. So they used to call him the Teflon Don. Right?
I mean, so did he ever get charged with crimes in the 80s? I know you said
man, all the time.
He would just beat all the cases.
Nothing stuck, or at a settled lawsuit, at a court settlement.
Jeez.
Yep. But he might not have broken any laws though, right? Because he had a team of lawyers that kind of watched his step. Now, what he did was probably what's the word, unethical maybe, or slick. But he might not have broken any laws though. And he had some good people working for him. I know people that have been with him 30, 40 years, and they're real decent people. So, it's we're highlighting on the bad he did, but every other day of the year, he was doing good things too for people, right? He did.
Like what? Like what good
He
things?
donated charity, he helped his friends out. If they were a little short, need a funeral, whatever. He would do some of that, right?
Mhm.
But it's like a lot of fighters say, yeah, it's real easy to donate to charities with someone else's money. So you take
Yeah,
whatever, take it whichever way you want. You
yeah.
got to be
No,
real careful in them. You got to
no.
be real. Yep.
I can see that. I
Yeah.
can see that. Why did fighters keep signing with him? If
But you had to go through him to get on to the titles, though. It was him and Arum. How independent can you be?
what was so back then there was a two belt era. It was the WBC and the WBA. So was the
Yeah,
WBA?
WBC. You look back now, you're gonna see some names had it, but that's like the IBF. When the IBF came out and they gave the title to Larry Holmes, they gave it to Aaron Pryor. These guys didn't even ask for it, right? So the WBC was doing a lot of that too. Like when Carlos Ortiz was fighting Douglas Vaillant. And then say, okay, yeah, you're gonna win the WBC belt too. Trust me, they didn't really know what the WBC was at the time, right?
Mhm.
But the WBC didn't really, really, really start becoming a super dominant force until they hooked up with Don King, and Don King took the title from Leon Spinks. I say Don King took it. He was pulling the strings, right? And they gave it to Ken Norton, right?
Mm.
That's when the WBC really started appearing in newspapers. Before then, it was always considered the other championship, the other belt,
So
right?
back then the WBA was the premium belt. Was the
Not
or,
always. It depended on the chain, right? So, like for example, Roberto Duran was the champ of the lightweights, but it wasn't because of who the belt was. It was because he had beaten Kenny Buchanan, who had beaten Laguna, who had beaten Carlos Ortiz, who had beaten Joe Brown. So there was a lineage that was tracing back to before when the belts came.
so they really abided by the lineal championships back then.
Well, it started fading now in the 80s and 90s when everyone started getting belts. Now
Mm.
it didn't matter to fight the lineage. Back then, you fought the lineage. Who had the lineage was the top dog. So if you wanted to be the top dog, you had to go after him. They just so happened to have the lineage. Now the lineage has kind of been broken or
Yeah.
diluted,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So
No.
it was easy to follow it. Like in the welterweights, you go back down to Emil Griffith, Benny Kid Paret, back to Emio, Jose Napoles, John A. Tracy, Carlos Palominos, Wilfred Benitez, Sugar Ray Leonard, right? So it was real easy. So it just so happened that they happened to have the WBC belt. Duran had the WBA belt, but they were the guys. You ever heard when they say the man who beat the man who beat the man who beat the man?
Yeah.
That's where that came from, right?
Mhm.
So that's sometimes it was a WBA, sometimes it was the WBC. Yeah.
Well, boxing seemed to take a real dip in popularity in the '90s, like especially I want to say around the mid '90s. That was after Mike Tyson was beaten twice by Evander Holyfield. Uh, the American public never seemed to really resonate with Lennox Lewis. He was a good fighter, great fighter, I'll say, Hall of Famer, but never felt like he was a super duper star here in America. Um, but ironically, that seems to be around the same time Don King kind of lost grip in his grip in boxing around the mid '90s. Is that a coincidence, or what was Don King holding the sport up? Were the people who were doing business in boxing fed up and left boxing due to Don King? What 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 what,
A little,
what caused that dip?
so, all right, it depends on who you talk to. Some people will say the lack of an American champion caused the dip, right? So there's a book called oh man, can I change my browser here? I'll use my cell phone because I don't
Yeah.
want to risk getting cut off.
No, you could surf the web on your camera if you open a separate tab, and
I
I'll
could,
still
all
show
right,
you.
but I'm gonna use my celly right though.
Okay, yeah,
So
no problem.
Paul Beston wrote a book on the heavyweights, right? And let me see what it's called. The Boxing Kings. when American heavyweights ruled the ring. You could do a screen share there or something.
Yes, I can.
All right, hold it like this. So look, I'm gonna hold it to my camera. Tell me if you can see it decently enough.
Yeah, Boxing Kings. That's a book. Yeah, I see it.
Yeah. So the subtitle is "When American Heavyweights Ruled the Ring." So basically, after Holyfield, it's been dominated by uh, Lewis Klitschko, and then Tyson Fury, basically, and AJ and
Joshua.
Alexander Usyk, right? Wilder was kind of in the mix, but
Mm-hmm.
he's probably been the only heavyweight. There you go. Yep, real good book. So he traces the lack of popularity falling off, at least in the United States, to the fact that we didn't have an American heavyweight, right? So other people might say that it happened right around the time network television stopped televising it, right? So also what started happening, I believe, was when the Muhammad Ali Boxing Act was passed, when it first came out in '97, I believe, and then it was updated in '99. I think it was called the Professional Boxing Safety Act at first,
Mm-hmm.
and then they called it the Muhammad Ali Act, right? They attached Muhammad Ali's name to it, and this changed the game for how promoters could start promoting. And this is why Money Mayweather came up all of a sudden, right? If you look at the time frame, look it up real quick. When did the Ali Act go into effect? I believe it was '99, 2000, right? Because they started it. They first started the investigation into the corruptness of boxing when James Toney won a very bad decision over a guy named Dave Tiberi in a middleweight title fight. And one of Tiberi's fans happened to be a state senator. And he kind of get the ball rolling. And then John McCain got involved. And then the Ali Act.
Yeah, it says it was passed in 1999 by both houses in Congress and signed into law by Bill Clinton in May of 2000.
So when did Money Mayweather break free from Arum and started becoming Money Mayweather? Around 2002, right?
No, I think it was much later than that. It was after, I think, his last fight with
It was almost
Arum.
after Castillo. Well, no, maybe the De La Hoya fight right before then, right?
If I'm not mistaken, I believe his last fight with Top Rank was the Zab Judah one. I could be wrong, but that's a
So that's
good thing about
2005,
Google.
2005, 2006. All right,
That
so
sounds
five,
that
6
sounds
years
about
later.
right to me. That sounds about
And
right.
then when did De La Hoya open up Golden Boy? When did fighters all of a sudden become promoters? De La Hoya, right? You follow the lineage. It was right after
I see what you're
right?
saying. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so after that, so that's what changed the game now with promoters. Now promoters had to show you the numbers. They before they could just tell you, take it or leave it, or there's only 6 million. But you don't know. Maybe there was 50. Now the main event fighters know, and that changed the game. And that kind of, I think, it may be circumstantial or coincidental, but certain promoters kind of faded into what Mike Tyson would say is Bolivian once that Ali Act started coming and people got hip to it. So you see, nothing happens overnight. It takes a while to understand this. Contracts have to expire, right? But then once they started getting new contracts, now it totally changed the game. And I think part of that is what kind of put a cramp in Don King style, I believe, because the timeline matches, and word was out by then. You gotta. This guy will. If you didn't have money in your pockets, he was taking the lid. That's the kind of reputation he had. So whatever, go do it. But you got to understand in the fighters' minds, because going back to them being tough, some of them might not be book smart, and it's real easy to take advantage. Sign this, I'll fill it out later. I'll explain it to you later. You lease a car, right, or buy a car. It's like 7, 8 pages, long ass pages that you're signing. How many of us actually read all of that?
No, you're right.
Right?
That's a good
Yeah,
point.
we don't really know. So a boxer's contract, listen, I don't remember how many fights I had, 16, 17 fights. So I don't remember ever at that age, 18, 21, reading a contract from beginning to end. I didn't read my one of my contracts when I moved out of my mom's house. It's the and I had it in a box, and then I said, "Let me read this shit." For the first time, I read it. It was like 7 years after I retired. But what happens is you trust a lawyer or you trust your manager,
Manager.
right?
Yeah.
Exactly. And if you got a manager who, whatever circumstances is leaning that he ain't got your best interest in mind, or he feels you owe him, because a lot of these times these guys they may have paid your rent for 2 years, right? Or something. So now you put yourself in a position where yeah, you owe some payback. So it's a real tough cycle to break. And then that's why a lot of guys, it's not even about being tough, it's about being in debt to these guys or signed the wrong contract. It's music industry ain't too different. You got a demo tape.
That is true. That is
First,
true.
first guy that comes with a little bit of money might be the one to get the rights.
Mm-hmm.
So
Talk to me about these stacked pay-per-view cards Don King used to put on. One thing, these older guys tell me about Don King is like, say whatever you want, but man, we had Trinidad, Chavez, Tyson,
yeah, it's true.
all in one night. You guys are now like, look at the pay-per-view card we got coming up with Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia. The undercard is absolute garbage.
Who's on the undercard?
Arnold Barbosa, Beck the Bully, and I forget who's the other guy.
Who they fighting though? Barbosa fighting who?
He's fighting some Irish guy. I forget the guy's name. The guy's name slips my mind. If you want, I could get you the information though. But yeah, point is,
it don't sound like Don King card. Don King put on good shows. It's one thing Don King knew how to sell, right? Boxing. He didn't do too well with Michael Jackson, though. Michael Jackson's victory tour didn't do too well with Don King. But boxing shows. Go ahead, you saying something?
No, why was he able to put on these stacked cards back then? Like, what was different then that we can't do that now?
Yeah, you probably could do it now, but I don't know what he might not have been paying the fighters as generously as they get paid now. That might be number one, right? It's easy to stack a card when you're paying everyone minimum wage, right? That might have been something to do with it. Also, he was beefing all the time with a couple of years. He was beefing with the cable networks. So there was a while when he didn't do any business with HBO for whatever reason. I don't remember what the specifics were. And he would work with Showtime, but Showtime was always a tier below HBO at that time financially. Maybe always, maybe to the very end, Showtime might have always been a little bit behind HBO production wise. So he almost had no choice but to put them guys on whenever he had a pay-per-view card, right? So
those were independent. Those were independent pay-per-views he would put on with no cable network backing it.
Maybe some of them had backing. Like sometimes he worked with Donald Trump at the casinos. So he would work with people. But Don King and Bob Arum might be the last promoters who could put on a pay-per-view event regardless if TV was involved or not. You got to give credit where credit is due. Right? Nowadays, if there's no TV dates, there's no TV dates, right? You never heard that with Don King. Right, he put it on.
If he wasn't a day, he was making his own pay-per-view, and
correct, something like that. Exactly, yeah.
And it was gonna be quality because he always stacked his cards.
He said he signed all the good fighters. By mistake, you're gonna have quality.
Yeah, he had Chavez, he had Tyson, he had Trinidad, he had Larry Holmes, Muhammad Ali at one point, Terry Norris. Roberto Duran.
You look at those old 70 cards. It's like Larry Holmes. I'm like Muhammad Ali in the main event. Larry Holmes, Roberto Duran, Wilfredo Gomez, and Alexis Arguello on the undercards. That's how they were. Those stacked those cards. Yeah.
If you bought a ticket to that fight, you were gonna watch 5 future Hall of Famers.
Really, and even in the 90s, like when Chavez fought Frankie Rando, I think it was Trinidad Camacho on the undercard, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
already 3 Hall of Famers in just those 2 fights. And then I think it was Terry Norris, Simon Brown. You know, they were deep his cards, right?
Yeah.
And he put him in. It was a lot like the UFC in that way. You know how the UFC, you got all the good fighters, and you
Yeah.
don't care about TV. You just putting it. That's how he was a lot like that.
And it's similar in some sense because you were mentioning you don't know how much he's paying them. UFC
True.
fighters, for the most part, you hear a lot that they don't get paid as much as they
He
should,
just
and
had some class action, right? A couple of weeks ago,
yeah,
they
yeah,
settled
yeah,
35 million or something.
yeah.
Yep.
That's still ongoing. That's still ongoing. But yeah,
He
no,
was a
no,
great promoter.
that's an interesting
Definitely a great
comparison.
promoter. When it came to boxing, he could put on a show.
Yeah. Just circling back to the question you asked. Shout out to my man Dan the Boxing Man on Twitter. This is the undercard for Devin Haney versus Ryan
Okay.
Garcia. So it's Arnold Barbosa. Oops. Arnold Barbosa. He's fighting Sean McComb. Uh, John Scrappy Ramirez is fighting David Jimenez, and Bektamir Bektabuli Melikuziev is fighting Pierre Hubert De Bombi.
Yeah, you know what they're probably doing right there is they probably realize everyone who tunes in is just watching Ryan and Devin. That's probably. Yeah, you remember when Canelo fought Floyd, and then they had a real nice undercard with
Yeah,
Garcia and Matisse.
they had Danny
Yeah,
Garcia versus
right.
Lucas Matisse as the co-main event.
Yeah, and so make it didn't bring so many more viewers. And if they would have had garbage on the card, it would have still had almost the same viewers. So there's almost no point putting it on now. Back then, um, we were just going to watch the fights back then, you know. So yeah.
I'm disappointed that boxing promoters look at it like that because they're thinking so, how do I say, short-sighted. I think that you should always appeal to your customers, and your customers are the boxing fans. And if maybe the casual boxing fan, maybe they're not going to tune in, but the hardcore boxing fan would appreciate a decent undercard. And that's not to say a casual is not going to watch an undercard and be impressed. I remember watching Zab Judah on the undercard, and
Mhm.
my friends being like, "Oh, who's this kid?" And he's from Brooklyn. I forget whose undercard it was. I want to say it was Roy Jones, but that sounds wrong. That's that because I know Zab was with. It's funny, Zab was with Don King as
He
well.
had been on for a while, yeah.
Yeah, so
I don't know. Maybe it was a Mike Tyson card or something.
maybe I'm not quite sure, but I remember my friends watching the fights with my friends, and my
Yeah.
friends being like, "Who's this Zab Judah guy?" and wanting to know more. And we were all casuals, including myself. So I'm just very disappointed in boxing promoters that they think of the right now and not in the 5, 6, 10
Yeah,
years from now.
I can't tell them how to spend their money because
No, of
I don't
course, of
have
course.
their risks. I don't know what numbers they have. They seem to have a formula where they know that the diehard fan is going to come anyway, and then what they try to do is increase the casual pocket, right? That's what they're going for. That's why Bob Byram in the 90s, nobody really talks about his main events the way they talk about Don King because he do shit like put Butterbean on there, right? The king of the 4 rounders. So and Butterbean was fun to watch,
I
right?
mean,
But
he's putting on Nico Ali Walsh now, so not much has changed.
he got an eye on the gimmick, right? More than Don King. Don King had eye on talent. Don King and his matchmakers were old school Teddy Brennan style, where get a good fight and people will come, right? But they also had a much bigger uh, boxing hardcore base now. I think the boxing
Yeah,
hardcore base shrunk, and the hardcore base now, if it is the same size, the paying public ain't the same size, right? So yeah, it's a lot of people stream, and you really if you're a streamer, I'm a little bit jealous, right? Because I don't know how to do all of that. But you're part of the reason why some of these fight cards are getting stinkier because they ain't making the money enough money.
no,
So
I agree. I agree. But to some degree, I understand. I don't.
I see both sides, man. Yeah,
Yeah, I see
but I
both
hear
sides
you. Give me
because
product. Give me a good product, right? It's like buying a house with a nice kitchen. All right, wait, I need a nice bathroom and bedroom too. Don't just give me the nice kitchen,
no,
right?
and not only that, apart from the undercard, is like being a boxing fan is expensive. The Zone,
Now it is, yeah, man,
yeah,
yeah,
The
but
Zone, ESPN Plus, pay-per-views.
but
If you,
would it be would you consider expensive if you was getting your money's worth?
yeah, I mean, no, I mean, yes and no, because it's still a lot for just entertainment. But at the end of the day, I would if we got more fights more consistently, that like fights we wanted. Like right now,
Yeah,
we want David Benavidez versus Canelo. If we could get that fight, sooner, and if we can see some of these fighters, and I'm not talking about the big guys like Canelo and AJ and Tank, those guys making 10, 20, 30, 40 million dollars a fight. I'm not talking about those guys. But then there's guys who, are not that popular and they're fighting once or twice a year. And
I
it's
know,
like, I don't know
and
what's going on.
not even twice a year. Some of them, nope.
Yeah, like Carlos Adames, I believe he only fought once last year, and he's not a superstar. He's not making a $500,000 a fight.
Man, and that's crazy because I could tell you almost literally every month that Sugar Ray Leonard fought. That's 35 years ago, and I can't tell you when was his last fight, J Rock?
Yeah, yeah, it was I believe in June of last year. I
Last
was there at
August or
the fight.
something like that. Yeah,
It
exactly.
was in the
So
summer. I was there. I was there live in
I know it was
Minnesota.
warm. I know it was warm, right? But
Yeah.
look, if this was the 80s, he'd have had 3, 4 fights by then.
Yeah,
You
no,
know?
and it's a shame, and it's a shame. Would Don King keep his fighters active? Would he get these guys three,
Yeah,
four,
yeah, they
five
fought
fights a
it.
year?
He didn't force no one to fight, but they would fight 3, 4 times a year. Some of them a little more. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
he's an old school boxing guy, so he was, he had that old school mentality. And then the more you fought, the more money he made. So he was cool with it.
Yeah.
Look how busy Chavez was. Chavez fighting 10, 11 times, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
eight,
yeah.
9 of them were against automatic bullshit fighters who probably shouldn't even sparred with him. But so what? He was in there. He was fighting in small crowds, and you could see him fight for $40, right? If you went to one of those small fights.
And he
So
fought. He took a lot of those in between fights internationally. He would fight,
yes, yeah,
in Spain and Monaco and Mexico
right, and
and
all over the world. Great fighter, man. Great fighter.
I
And
mean, the only thing is, I look at it like a little bit like this guy was all time great,
yeah,
and he's
I know.
fighting a guy who's 12-4.
Yeah, it was, but the guy would be a little bit heavier than him though, right? So he'd be a lightweight. He's fighting a welterweight. So he had that size advantage, right? But
Yeah,
whatever, man. People didn't go to see who was gonna win. They went for the opportunity to see this guy up close and in the flesh. That's why that you would go to those fights,
and you think
though.
boxing's
Opponent,
missing that now?
yeah, I think so, man, because that's like, I mean, how nice is it when recording artists throw on a free concert, right, in the beach, right, just a little beat,
Yeah,
1 song, 2 songs, you don't even care if he lip syncs, right?
yeah.
Not really, right? Yeah. So they come shoot a music video on your block. That's it's all right, but um, I mean, you got to go. You could go watch them spar in the gym if you could get in. Sometimes they're behind closed doors. You can't see that. And if you can't afford the big money fight in Vegas, then yeah, go watch them. Slap around some guy you ain't never gonna see again, right? But it was all right, and then he stayed sharp. And most of the guys did it because if they didn't, their weight would be going up and down like crazy in between fights,
No,
right?
not only that, in between a fight, you make a quick 25, 50
You make
grand.
another 40, 50 grand exactly, which
Yeah,
is nice. Even today, that's nice money to add. And, what for a quick day at the office?
shit, I'll fucking fight better be it for 50,000 right now.
No,
Nah,
it was
no.
cool though, and they stayed busy, and you stay sharp. And listen, anything can happen in those fights, so you had to be on your p's and q's. Those fights were only easy because he treated them serious, right?
Mhm.
And you know what they say, practice makes perfect, man. I don't care what you're doing. You do something 20 times, you're gonna be better at it than if you do it once.
Yeah. And I think that's why and this is where some of the younger guys may get mad at me. This is why I think the fighters back then were better. I think the fighters were a lot more skilled back then. They went to the body more often. They made the fight more. I think they came forward more. They set more traps. And don't get me wrong, we have some great fighters now. I can go down the list, and I think Inouye's an all-time great. Canelo's an all-time great. Crawford's an all-time great. So we have great fighters now. I don't
Did
want
you
to.
say Inouye, Crawford, and who? Oh, Canelo.
And Canelo. I think those guys are all-time greats, especially when you take in consideration how Crawford wiped out two divisions, became undisputed back to back. Inoue did the same. Canelo's been lineal champion in 3 divisions. You know, each at one point have had a strong argument of being number 1 pound for pound. I think these guys, I'm not saying they beat everybody in history, but I think they're on level with pretty much everybody in history in their weight classes.
Good fighters, all great fighters, good enough. They can hang in the air, bro. Mm-hmm. It's a shame we don't see them more often, though.
I'll say this. Of the 3 I mentioned, believe it or not, I think Inouye's the best.
Yeah, I don't know, man. You know, honestly, the way it's getting is the best guy is the last one, the most recent one to fought. That's how it's getting. Like Canelo ain't looking good now because he's kind of sidestepping Benavidez or whatever, or whoever's sidestepping whoever's sidestepping who, whatever. The fight ain't getting made. I don't care. I don't even care about the politics behind it. I ain't seeing him in the ring. And Crawford, whether it's his fault or not, yeah, maybe Inouye is bumping him off. You know, Inouye is a little more consistent. No, not in quality, it's in quantity. Right?
No, and not only that, I'm actually one of the few people who actually have Inouye number 1 currently, and I have Crawford number 2 pound for pound. A lot of people
I would put Usyk probably a little bit ahead of Canelo right now.
Okay, yeah, Usyk is an interesting case because he wiped out his division at cruiser, comes up and beats Joshua twice.
Yeah.
You know, once in his hometown.
Right.
And by the way, became cruiserweight champion, and every belt he took was in another person's home country.
He was part of one of the tournaments, right? That's when
the World Boxing Super Series. And on top of that, if you want to take it even further, he won gold in the Olympics. So no, that guy is for sure another person who
because Canelo, you got to knock him down a peg or two because of the Bivol laws. I don't care that it's a bigger man or whatever, right? Yeah. You got to bring him down.
I had him at that moment. I had him number 1 pound for pound.
Yeah, and arguably, absolutely, yeah. So it's fluid, and I think it's just based on who's the most recent one. So it's almost like you got a 3.5, 4-headed monster at the top right now.
Mm-hmm. Right. I actually may have Bivol ahead of Canelo in terms of pound for pound. If we're talking about right now,
and if he beats Beterbiev, then definitely.
If he beats Beterbiev, he's definitely top 3.
No doubt about it. Yeah.
And that's not a given fight for either.
Maybe top 2 if Crawford don't fight soon.
Yeah.
And you know.
And I don't know who Crawford is going to fight now. From what I understand, Samson Lukowicz pretty much said that Fundora wants to fight Spence, and
so that leaves his options limited. So he's either going to fight a stay busy fight, or maybe I don't know if they strip Fundora, right? Maybe he'll fight for one of the vacant belts.
I wouldn't be surprised they strip Fundora.
Yeah, they might do that.
And they make Crawford fight Zoo for the vacant.
Yeah, but Zoo, the only thing with Zoo is he might not be able to fight for a couple of months because of that rip that he got in his head.
I think
that's some stitches, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I can't confirm, but I'm pretty sure that was a pretty bad gash.
I don't see him being ready before September.
Yeah, considering the gash was in the hairline, I think he's okay in terms of worrying about.
I wouldn't take that chance. It already cost him 1 fight, arguably.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, you don't want to take that chance.
So you don't think in 5 months he'll be okay?
Well, he probably can't spar for 2-3 months until that heals completely.
Yeah.
That rips open again. It's going to keep ripping open.
Yeah. All right.
So
I mean,
I wouldn't take a chance with that personally.
okay. Yeah, no, it's interesting. It's interesting. But you see, that this is what I'm talking about with boxing, man. Like this guy destroyed Errol Spence, made toyed with him, knocked him out, and the champion doesn't want to fight him. He wants to fight Spence. Oh, it's because Spence is signed with PBC, and this is like explaining that to a casual fan and justifying it by, oh, it's a business is
Yeah,
absolutely ridiculous.
imagine like let's say the Yankees were in first place and the Orioles were in second place, and the Yankees say, "Nah, I'm not going to play the Orioles for the World Series. I'd rather play whoever's down there, whatever the number
Yeah,
five team."
it makes more sense financially if we play the Dodgers because that's two big markets, and
Yo,
it's like, yeah, but they didn't earn their way up there.
it's because boxing is kind of like it's not even a sport in like in a league. It's like every month new rules. You do what whatever makes the most money is what you're doing.
Yeah, it's like boxing is more business than sport. It's like, okay, yeah, it's two athletes in there. Yeah, sure, we're trying to see who's better, but what's really most important is how much we make the most money right now, as opposed to keeping the integrity of the sport.
Yeah, that's who's the latest sucker. That's how they operate. You
Yeah,
know,
it's
that's why
like,
they call it the fight racket.
well, your dog want to get in the camera.
Now I think she might want to go out right now.
Oh, okay, you gotta go. Let me know, man.
We got a few minutes. Let me get. Yeah, we got about 10 minutes.
All right, cool.
What up, though? What else? What else is on the dock? What do you call it? What they call it in the courts? On
On
the
the
docket?
docket. Yeah,
What
yeah,
else is
yeah.
on the docket?
PBC in general seems to treat their fighters pretty fairly, both financially and the way they move them.
Yeah, they try
How
to do the
refresh?
best. They try to do the best they can for the fighters and for
Mhm.
the people around. I've written a few times for PBC,
No, I
right,
know.
on
That's
their
that's how
website.
we got introduced. You
Yeah,
you
and
quoted one of my videos.
I never once had to ask for the pay. Right? I've written for other places where they'll come up with some shit like, "Are you sure? Are you sure?" I was like, "Motherfucker, what do you mean? Am I sure?" Yeah, I didn't see a neck. I didn't see a check. All right, you didn't get it. All right. So
That is hilarious.
yeah, but PBC, no, Tim Smith, Kenneth, they were always very good. Kenneth's busy now all the time, but Tim Smith, class act, man. Ever since I met him in the '90s when he was covering baseball, class act,
Yeah, you
and
know what's funny?
they all got the best interests. I don't even hear fighters complaining about them. What's the
Yeah,
only complaint you could say is I ain't busy enough, and that kind of is out of their hand
yeah.
because
That's
they're
one
more
thing I
advisor.
heard.
They really are more advisor than promoter though. That they seem like a promoter, but they don't do everything a promoter does. So they're in a funny place.
Yeah, it's weird, and that's one thing I feel eh, that they lack the promotional aspect, and I hope they don't get offended because I like PBC,
Yeah,
but I do feel that they missed the boat a lot on the promotional side. But then again, they're not a promoter, so they can always justify,
you can't
you
do
know.
everything, man. And honestly, nowadays with social media, there's no reason why me, you, I write books once in a while. I should be up on social media
Mhm.
doing little sentences every day, quote of the day or some shit. I don't know if that will make people want to buy the books, but if you're in the business of selling yourself, right? Then with social media, you should not be relying on a promoter to do it for you. Everybody should be trying to come out with the next viral video or what of some sort.
I
And
agree.
Brian, for all his craziness, got that shit on lock. He knows how to
Yeah,
create a stir, whether
I,
he's
I,
doing it by mistake or not.
I agree with you to some degree, but and I'm sure this you'll understand is a lot of these fighters are not that savvy. I'll say that. I don't want to insult nobody. So
You hire a trainer, and you could get someone to do your media management,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Social media management.
and if you're charismatic enough and you got a fan,
Yeah,
an excited fan, they may do it for free.
No, I wouldn't expect anyone to do anything for free, but I don't think it will be an arm and a leg. And if you do social media right, it should pay for itself,
I got you.
right?
I got
So in that sense, it shouldn't cost you nothing.
Yeah, no, but getting back to, I do think
Yo, where's Juan
that
de lo Mio? Is he coming on?
you want him on, I'll call him.
Yeah, put him on. I'm gonna walk my dog, and then I'm gonna join you guys in 10.
All right, cool. Hold on, let me text him.
Because my dog is old now. She's 13. I don't want to.
Oh, that's why.
I don't want to stress her body more than. Oh shit! I just
All
saw.
right, I see him. All right. There we go.
By the way, Larry Liston. Larry Liston. I'm looking at the comments now.
Okay.
Let me see. I agree with him.
Don at the time had monopolized the heavyweight division back then. Whoever had the heavyweight championship ran boxing.
Yeah, 100%.
Through cunning maneuvers, he kept his control.
Cunning is a nice way of putting it, Larry. Cunning is a nice way of putting it, man.
Hey,
sometimes
man,
it was strong arm tactics. Sometimes it was slick, and sometimes he was. It's just he did the right thing, and the right thing worked for you.
Wait, what do you mean strong arm tactics? He had goons?
No, you are forcing you. You have to train at my facility, right?
Okay.
And it costs you 90,000 a year to train there. You have to sign this contract, or else you ain't fighting. How much strong arm can you get than that, right? You got to sign, take it or leave it. How much strong arm can you get to that than that?
Yeah.
I don't mean, like I told you before, I think he stopped just short of breaking the law, right? He's not going to send his goons. He did his time. He was a thug in the 60s. He grew out of that. He wasn't a thug no more. He was a professional, ruthless businessman is what he was.
Yeah, but the way he's described is like a scammer, especially because to me that's stealing what he did to Juan Laporte. Yo, you fight this guy that wants 100,000 more.
It's a dirtbag move.
No, it's a crime. Forget
it's not a crime because this dude agreed to it. See, that's where
agreed to it on the premise of a lie.
Oh, absolutely, man, 100%. Now, unfortunately, he didn't catch wind to it till years later when he bumped into the other fight at a convention, like at a dinner. So it might have been like statute of limitations passed and all that. And then you know how expensive it is to get a lawyer and go taking Don King to court. You know how big your pockets got to be to deal with the postponements, the what do you call that? The appeals and all of that.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I mean, if you get a lawyer to do a pro bono, you could.
I gotta take my dog. Hold on.
Yeah, no, go ahead, do your thing. I sent it to Juan. I don't know.
Okay.
I'll hold it down. I'll hold it down while you're away. All right, guys. My man, he gonna walk his dog and he'll be back. But in the meanwhile, we'll talk about this. By the way, I'm gonna do these type of interviews every now and then, where we talking boxing history. You know, it's cool to talk about boxing currently. I do like interviewing people more so than just talking about myself, like I'm doing right now. But I'm interested in the history of boxing, and Jose Corpas, man, I'm telling you, this guy knows so much about the history, knows so many stories, like that Juan Laporte story. Who knew that? Who knew that he had to give up $100,000 to save the show, and then it was no show to save. That is absolutely ridiculous. That is absolutely ridiculous. And I'm glad that the rules have changed and guys like Don King were pushed out of boxing, because it's absolutely insane that that's the case. Yo, Juan, I sent you the link already, bro. What's up, man? Oh shit! I sent the link to the wrong guy, man. Hold on. Let me All right. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if my man Juan wants to. All right, my man right here.
Drop
Juan,
that link.
de lo mío, que lo
What's,
que.
what's going on, my brother? I heard Mini Pac-Man's fighting today, man. I didn't even.
He is. He is. He is. But unfortunately, this is the time that I had to work for me and Jose. So I
No,
put it on. I'm sure. Those fights run late anyways. Like you
yeah,
know
they
how it
do.
is. Te ponen como 100 muertos.
And it's unfortunate because I think he lost it. Did he lose his title, Joel?
He lost it. He lost his title. It was a real complicated situation because he was the mandatory for the champion, and then he did his whole training camp, went to Thailand to defend the title, to fight for the title because he was the WBA regular. The other guy was a WBA super, so he was competing for that. And when he took the fight, he went over there. His passport, like when you go to Thailand, your passport has to be good for 6 months. His passport was only good for 4 months. So they locked him in a jail. They did all types of stuff. They canceled the fight. He had to fly back.
That's
and then what the WBA determined, it was somewhat your fault that you didn't know the rules and they stripped him. But he is still highly rated he moved up in weight and he's very highly rated, so he should be getting a title shot soon, given he doesn't lose anytime soon.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's a crazy rule right there. They couldn't look the other way. You saw Devin Haney. Australia had a law where David Haney's father couldn't go there because I guess he had a prior arrest record, and
Yeah, he had extensive criminal record, and they have strict laws as to who can enter the country, who can't. So
they made an exception because of the meaning of that fight. It was a big fight and it was bringing a lot of money to the country too as well. So
yeah, I mean, and I was so happy that happened because I know Bill Haney. There's a lot of people that don't like his attitude, and that's fine. I'm not telling nobody to like somebody or not to like somebody. But one thing you can't say is like, all right, this is a big moment for his son. Just being a dad, like you're gonna take that away from him. He's not going there to do crime. Like, say whatever you want about him. Oh, his attitude, his this, is that. That's cool, but you can't say, so that means he can't go watch his son fight for undisputed. Come on. So I'm glad it worked out for them. That was a real nice thing the way it worked out.
Definitely.
By the way, no. Let me just say this, and you can ask you a question. By the way, Mini Pac-Man is ranked number 1 at 108 pounds. So he should be the mandatory soon to Kenshiro Teraji. Kenshiro Teraji is definitely the number 1 fighter in that division, and is also a unified champion who holds the WBC and the WBA. So that's a tough fight if Mini goes that route.
Hey Joel, do you know anything about the undercard for Canelo, man? They haven't even said nothing about that undercard, man.
No, they haven't. I heard rumors. This is rumors, not no legit super source. That Boots may be on it, but that's rumors.
That's a big event, man. Like, you will want to have your undercard already set so the fans could get excited about buying the pay-per-view.
Yeah, get Elvis on that. Yo, hold on, Juan. This is my man Jose, man. I gotta have this. No. You can stay on.
That man needs no introduction on this channel. That's the legend right there. That's the boxing historian. That's the encyclopedia. I already know who that man is.
Juan, where you at?
No. I just came to see from my grandfather. I'm on my way home right now, man.
All right.
I'm about to go into my office. I got better lighting now.
Yo, you should see my setup right here, man. It looks like it ain't a ring light. Put it like that.
No, man, I'm just happy, Jose, man, that you could share the wealth of information, man. It's like you give us it's like a documentary live where we get to see the nuances of what goes around boxing, the things that most people don't see and don't hear about. Some people might be listening to now and say, "Yeah, this guy's bullshit. Ain't no way in hell that happened." And it's true because you was an eyewitness. You was out there.
Yeah, it's history.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Yeah. You know, I just happen to always keep an eye on history. I always just been some of it I lived, but I always was curious. Like, yo, why is that statue there? Right? Why is that street? You know, why is it round? You know, why is it square? So I've always been curious with that.
Hey
You
man,
know.
yeah,
Yep.
how you like where the scope of boxing is at right now, where it's going? You
I
know,
mean, listen. Occasionally they have good fights, and that's really all we could ask for. Sometimes I, I wish there was more fights. I wish some of the better fights got made, right? But you got to be careful not to take for granted what you do get, right? So we got to stop every once in a while. PBC card last week, those were some pretty good fights, right? And let's see what's coming down the pipe. So I don't know. We're getting some decent fights every now and then, but let's
you
see.
know,
Let's see if they keep them
I'm
coming.
big on what you just said, Jose. You said something that's very powerful. Now with social media, man, a lot of these guys could be their own promoters, man.
They should at least try.
I sh- Listen, if a guy's making 300,000, marketing, social media management, so should already be part of your management.
It
That
should
should
be.
be already money allocated aside for
Yeah,
that. That's a
should be.
tax write-off. People
Yeah,
don't understand that you yourself are an enterprise as a boxer already.
yeah,
You're not an employee, so that benefits you a lot, and it reduces your taxable income.
right.
So that should already be. These guys are not being advised. Well,
Good. You
it's a
should try,
shame.
man. Yeah, use it. Take advantage of it.
And yeah, Juan would be so good in the boxing industry because he's such a knowledgeable guy, such a passionate guy. I just don't. I just think his heart's too pure, though. I think his heart will get broken somewhere
You can
down the line.
still, you can still not
You know,
well. Yeah, you can still be a part of the business though, but just be ready for every person to come and try to take advantage of you. Know that's all. That's the only thing.
what's
Yeah.
crazy? If I had a local guy around here that I could vibe with, because
Mhm.
it's because man, I'm even not to trick my own horn, but God be blessing me with some great ideas, man. And I just
That's
like
true.
if these people have certain people around them that could see, you know, that can have somewhat of a vision. You don't got to be the most talented guy, man. You could be a contender, a top 15 guy,
Yeah,
and and people want to see you because you're providing good content to them. I was
yeah,
just talking to Rohan Polanco, and I told him, listen, there's somebody in your city that's a young kid that's coming up that has a skill set in videography or photography. You have a platform. You fight on ESPN. That kid will work for you. That kid will work for you, but you have to put that vision forward. You got to put that out there. And these
Yeah.
guys are not that active on social media. They're
Yeah.
not.
yeah.
Speaking of that, I know a 19-year-old kid. Shout out to my guy Brandon. 19 years old. He might be 20 now, but photographer for Shushu, photographer for Keyshawn Davis, Richardson Hitchens.
He's
Uh,
only 19.
he's nine.
19 years old.
I think he's 20 now, but he started when he was 19. This
Good for
guy is
him.
traveling all over the world. You know, expenses paid for, hotel paid for. Hey man, I want you to shoot my entire training camp. You're
That's
gonna be in Las
crazy.
Vegas with me for 2
Okay.
months. Hotel, food paid for, and you getting paid.
Yeah,
Whatever you getting paid for. Kid, 19 years old. So
And you
there's
got to
ways.
grab them like that, Joel Young. Because me, for instance, I'm a grown man. I'm very important to my family. I
For
provide for my
sure.
household. So I
Mhm.
just can't up and leave my
yeah.
house. I don't, it's not like I make good money at my job. So,
Mhm.
for instance, I went with Edwin to his fight and I didn't have to pay for a cent. I went out there for 4 days. So that was like a vacation for me. But I can't, you got to grab a young kid to do that though. Just for the thrill of being around you. I
Sure.
don't get, I don't want to be around somebody all day. I got things to take care of. You know what I'm saying? I don't get a thrill. I can make $1,000 at work in one day working. So
Yo, they
you got to
hiring?
grab a
They
young kid
hiring?
that's talented, huh? Overtime, overtime. Yeah, you're gonna see you there too.
We're not gonna talk about that. We're not gonna talk about that here.
Yeah, my bad. I got ahead of myself. You know what it is? Inflation, Jose. Inflation's going down.
Nah, that's not what you're talking about, but all right.
But definitely, man, these guys got to get savvy, and these guys got to become smarter. But something Joel
but
said to me,
I also don't want to let the promoters off the hook, man. Your job is just not to put on a card. Like Samson Lukowitz, who I considered a friend of mine. He tells me Dominicans don't sell tickets. That's the problem. I'm the only one who signs them, but you got to understand. They don't sell tickets, and they don't. And then I've done this on my channel multiple times, and this isn't something I've sent a conversation we've had in private. I go, okay, so what are you doing to promote to the Dominican market? And he could never give me an answer.
No, they don't want to try nothing new because
it's like
they don't want to. Yeah,
I'm like, bro,
does he got data though? Does he got data to back that up? I'm curious because Samson is he's speaking from experience. So I wonder what his experience was. But I think no one's trying nothing different though.
Yeah,
they're just to the same formula. That's what they stick to.
One, nobody's trying nothing different. And two, they're not putting these. I'll speak specifically with Dominicans. They're not putting these Dominicans to fight with these Dominicans. Elvis Rodriguez fought 2 times in a row in Minnesota. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Are there any Dominicans in Minnesota? I've been there twice. I still haven't met one that lives there yet. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's like, what are we doing? You got these promoters who are not trying.
Were they main events out there?
Excuse me?
Were they the main event, or was it David Morrell card?
The Elvis Rodriguez, he fought on Tim Zoo's undercard and on and Subriel Matias undercard. So it's like, I just don't get how you got Subriel Matias, a Puerto Rican, in the main event, Elvis Rodriguez, a Dominican, in the co-main event, and you throw him in Minnesota.
It must be cheap to put it on there. That's probably why they go out there. It must be cheap to put it on. They probably just dealing with the TV money. Because that don't bring a big crowd, right, out there?
No, that arena is probably holds 1,000 to 2,000 people, roughly.
Yeah, it looks small. So maybe it costs nothing. Maybe they get in the arena for free. Who knows? That's why they're going out there.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying you got to be a little bit more strategic. Throw these other motherfuckers over there. If you got these Latinos, figure out where their market is. I think they're really missing out on that.
They don't market except for Mexican.
Mm-hmm.
They just market to boxing fans. That's how they look at it.
Yeah, I think you can do both simultaneously. I think you can market to a certain demographic.
They used to in the 15s, 20s, 30s. That's how it was marketed. It was Irish versus Italian, Italian versus Jew, Puerto Rican versus Jew. That's how they used to do it back in the olden days.
Yeah. No, so, and it don't necessarily gotta be so adversarial, No,
it's really competition.
Exactly. Like, no, not even that. You just promote, hey man, this Dominican is fighting, come support. Whether he's fighting an American, a Puerto Rican, a Mexican, or whoever.
Would you want a boxer promoter to do that? Because I can see them doing something stupid like playing cumbia music and thinking it's bachata or something stupid. Like it too, right? It. So maybe you asking them to do something they have no idea how to do.
And that's why you do your research. If you're gonna start promoting,
help you out, yeah.
And then bro, that people at PBC and Samson Lukowitz know the voice of Dominican boxing. They know me. They got my number and email.
True. You
could just call me. Hey man, we want to do an event with Dominicans. All right, this is a Dominican Day Parade every year here in August. They've never done an event around it.
I think they should try at least once and see what the results is. Then they could talk a little bit.
Exactly. No, And the stigma that Dominicans don't sell, the reason it offends me so much is because we never really had anybody to buy. We had some good fighters back then with the exclusion of Joan Guzman.
No, they would come out. They would come out, not like the Mexicans do, or
no,
not like
sure.
the British. Not like the British come out for Ricky Hatton or Tyson Fury. They used to come out though. At least in New York, Julio Cesar Green was good for 3,000-4,000 easy.
For sure, right? Julio Cesar Green used to sell out that fake.
Ricky Sosa was not as popular, but he was pulling in his $2,000. So it's there. They're there somehow.
Yo no tienen problema.
He's back.
My bad, guys.
Yo, we're talking about the music, man. You missed it.
Oh, what happened? What happened?
No, he said that these promoters, they don't want to do a Dominican vet because maybe they'll play cumbia, talk about his Dominican music.
Man, listen, if you're the guy that's known for blowing it, Dominican fighters are a niche that's literally on tap, you'll have everyone else that comes from there signing with you. Think about that. That would be something major if you could break a fighter from DR.
No, it
would be so easy to do.
It's such a big market. The biggest city in America is New York City. And the biggest Latino population in New York City is Dominicans. If you find a way to tap into that market, you are finding a gold mine. It's a gold mine.
How popular is it out there? Like them shows that Belica Peña puts on and stuff out there in Santo Domingo.
Not too popular, but I do want to differentiate the Dominicans from the country and the Dominicans who live here in America. I do think that there's more interest, what we call, Dominican Dominicans that were born here in America, or even Dominicans who were born over there, but, have spent 10, 15 years here. I feel like there's more interest in the Dominicans who live here than they are over there.
So like they have no problem tapping in for baseball. Right?
No.
So I wonder. It's interesting how. Why for one, not for others. Like, what's up with that?
The thing is, we have great baseball players. We don't really have any great boxers, so there's no reason to get super duper excited.
Yeah, but you could say the same about Puerto Rico right now. Who would you say is great from Puerto Rico?
Joel, we got.
Yeah, but they don't got no ticket sellers right now.
I mean, you got Danny Garcia might have been the last real ticket seller from PR, right? Well, Puerto Rico.
Yeah, and I'm not even gonna count him just because I don't even know when's the last time he fight, and when is he gonna fight? When is he gonna fight?
Not counting Amanda Serrano, I'm talking about the male fighters. Is
Berlanga?
Yeah, Berlanga, that's it, right?
I think Real Matias with the zone.
Is he a big seller though?
He's gonna break that. I think he's gonna break because they're gonna do the right thing.
We're about to find out then.
Yeah, I know he's gonna probably sell out in Puerto Rico, but those tickets, I have no proof. Matter of fact, maybe I could find that out. But those tickets, I'm assuming, are reasonably priced because Puerto Ricans out there, they don't have as much money as us Americans, so I doubt that they're buying $5,000 tickets.
What were the ticket prices when Amanda fought with the Jake Paul card when she hurt her eye and she couldn't fight?
Yeah, that was a bummer right there, man. Yeah. Joel, you imagine her and Matias on a card in New York? Oh my God! Serrano and Matias in a car in New York?
That would be amazing. The only thing is, I think each have a problem. Who's gonna main event it? Neither of those two are gonna win.
Man, someone has to be the bigger man. Incentives for the movement.
Well, it depends. It's going to depend on who the opponent is, who they're fighting.
Exactly.
Yeah. No.
You see how these ideas be coming, Joel, on the fly.
Yeah, but Amanda's not with Matchroom, so
yeah, that's gonna be hard to put that together.
Yeah, but
I think they dropped the ball. I think Subriel Matias dropped the ball. Well, I don't want to say Subriel Matias. I think his team dropped the ball by not taking the fight with Elvis Rodriguez. Puerto Rico versus DR in Puerto Rico.
What you think, Juan? What do you think about that?
I don't think that they dropped the ball for this very reason. The Puerto Rican fan base is a passionate fan base that they're gonna come out and they're gonna support their fighter, and they have a talent in Subriel Matias that is gonna go to war. You know that you're gonna be on the edge of your seat. That guy's a star, bro. I don't care what no one tells me. PBC, unfortunately, for whatever reason, they couldn't do what they could. And he said it too. I asked them to do certain things for me, and they couldn't. They couldn't deliver. I think the zone is gonna make him a star, bro. I really believe that. I think he's gonna knock out Paro bad in Puerto Rico because he's gonna want to come out.
No, but my thing is, you don't think it would have more of an impact knocking out a Dominican than knocking out an Australian?
Yeah, but I'm telling you, it's not a loss. You know why? Because I believe he's gonna knock Paro out, and I believe that Dominican matchup is still gonna be available. You understand what I'm saying, Jose?
I see what you're saying.
That Dominican
I
matchup.
know. But what I think what Joel L is trying to say is that it's like I don't want to say it's a wasted fight, but Elvis might have fast tracked him, at least in Latin America. I think that's where he's getting at.
It would have did a lot for the culture. It would have did a lot.
Yeah, I think that's
what
he's trying to say.
Puerto Rican
probably could have created a little rivalry right there.
I would have flew out there with my family just to see that fight, bro.
Me too. I would have went as media for sure. 100%. I would have went.
That would have been a great fight because someone was gonna get knocked out.
You for Subriel?
Subriel versus Elvis, I would have flew out there. Hell yeah. That's a fight. That's a fight that can't be bad. You got two knockout artists, both in their prime. Both are gonna stand there and fight. Neither is gonna go out there and start boxing and start moving.
You're not gonna see Shakur in that fight.
And then you got that added rivalry. You know, the World Baseball Classic just happened last year. You know, I was at that game with Michelle Rivera.
Where you think would have been better, in Santo Domingo or in San Juan, to put that fight?
No,
I would say Puerto Rico, because you got to go where the champion is.
You got to go where the champion is, and you got to go where the fans are. The Puerto Rican
and where the money is.
Out. And that's going to make the Dominican fan base come out because they're going to say, oh, no, we're going to go there because our boys over there. Because we have a Dominican community in Puerto Rico, and they're going to be hearing about this. I know. They're going to be hearing about this all day. Yo, we fighting a Dominican. You coming? We fighting a Dominican. You come on, man. Yeah, they missed out on a great opportunity there, but I think the opportunity still could be made. And if they're smart, they'll tap in to the baseball market where they could say, "Can you have our guys come out and throw a first pitch in a World Baseball Classic game?" They have to tap in with these guys.
And
man.
even because the World Baseball Classic, I believe, is every 4 years. But although this time they're gonna do it in 3 years for whatever reason, but it's usually every 4 years. But the Caribbean series is every year. The Caribbean
series is every year. They could tap into that too.
That's how I would do it. Tap in right there. Boom. You make that. And that's money right there just off promotion. If I'm going to, like last year, I went to the World Baseball Classic, Puerto Rico versus DR. It was so many Puerto Ricans, so many Dominican, was packed. That I believe the game was like on a Friday. I could be wrong. Why not put a fight on Saturday? A Puerto Rican versus a Dominican. All these fans flew from all over the world for this baseball game. You don't think they'll be like, you know what? Tomorrow there's a fight. There's a Dominican. I don't even know boxing, but there's a Puerto Rican and I'm Puerto Rican. There's a Dominican and I'm Dominican and I'm gonna go support. See, this is ways you got to get creative. But I feel like nowadays promoters are just kind of like, all right, this is a good fight. It should sell. And if it doesn't, it's the fighter's fault. And it's like, bro, what effort did you put into
when you're putting yourself and giving yourself the title of a promoter?
You gotta promote.
You gotta get to these rooms. You gotta go and meet people. You gotta go meet with the MLB. That's cross-contamination promoting. Like ESPN is trying to do with NASCAR, where they have events during NASCAR weekend. Right, Joel? It's the same business model. Dominicans and Puerto Ricans already like baseball. Let's tap into that market. Let's talk to them. Let's talk to the reggaetoneros. Let's talk to the urban, el género urbano in DR, the rappers. Let's have these guys walking in our guys in fights. People are not thinking. There's a lot of money to be made there.
Bro, I have a guy standing right in front of the entrance of the Puerto Rico versus DR game selling the boxing tickets. Go, yo, tomorrow, this Elvis and Subriel and this and that. There's ways you could do it. I don't know.
You don't gotta pay a little rapper from DR that's on the come up a lot of money. Man, that's a come up for them to walk you out and to be internationally seen in a major network. He'll do that for free. Mm-hmm. Just pay for his flight and visa.
You think
pay for what? Pay for what?
His visa.
No, most of these guys probably got their visas right because they're touring. But a young guy from DR that's on a come up that has 4 or 5 million.
That's what Canelo did with what's that?
Peso Pluma?
That group that he came out in the Charlo fight.
Oh yeah, with a Mexican, yeah, those guys.
Yeah. Those young guys. Well, I forgot their name.
I forgot their names too, but they very hip, urban, young guys on the come up. That was a great look.
Santa Fe Clan, I think is their name.
Yeah,
and you seen how much buzz they got for walking Canelo out?
Oh man, yeah. It's a come up for them because you're getting put in a major platform with a major fight.
And honestly, if you want to tap into the Dominican market, the best way I would say is to tap in with the Dominican urban market like that. Alofoque music. I know my Dominicans watching right now. I know what I'm talking about.
They never had a boxer on there. They never have had a boxer in Alofoque. And that's the biggest radio media people on social media right now.
Yeah, and Dominican boxing is on the come up right now. So that would be, you want to, from a promotional standpoint, if you want to know what a promoter could do, what's the best thing they could do is figure out how they can get a fighter on that channel. Or on that podcast, excuse me.
On that podcast, yeah.
That's the #1 Latin podcast in the world.
It is actually in the world. My bad. Latin.
In the world, the #1 Latino podcast is Alofoque, and they never had a Dominican boxer.
The beauty about the Dominican culture is that we have a lot of influence in the Latin American culture because the music artists that we have, because of the influence of bachata, merengue, we have a lot that we offer the Latin American community. So I'm kind of shocked that we haven't made a star yet in boxing.
I think it's coming. But
because of the failure of the people that's running the business. Somebody at the elite level has to say, yo, I'm going to make Dominican boxing a priority. Because it's an untapped market that could give you a great people group, that could add on a great fan base.
Juan, are you thinking about promoting?
You need that business.
What the fuck? That was the longest no, right?
No, I see.
How do I say no in a nice way?
That business looks like it has a lot of
unroot. It's dirty.
Yeah.
I'm a hook.
And me and you've seen it firsthand.
I'm a hook you up.
I was in Vegas and we was talking about, yo, listen, everybody strap up with a knife. Everybody go down with your content. I'm like, what?
Juan, I'm gonna hook you with Don King.
You heard Juan?
What happened?
I'm gonna hook you up with Don King. You can take over his Latin American division.
Man, listen, I'm gonna be real with you. I will be value to him if he was to add me, because I know what I bring to the table, because these things I'm passionate about. These are things that me and Joel talk about. Like, I know I'm going to add value just because I know the ideas that I have. And the only thing that I don't have is the connections and the resources. But if I had that behind me, man, I have great ideas. It's just that I'm very valuable to my family. You see, like I have a lot of great ideas to y'all. I bring a lot of value to my family. So me being away from my family 5 days is an asset that's away from them. And my family is very important to me.
No, for sure.
So you gotta make it worthwhile for me. Not saying that I think I'm worth anything crazy, but I just see a lot of loop. Yo, Joel, if I had a Dominican if I was gonna break a Dominican star, you know what I would do? I will grab one of these blocks, right, where there's a lot of Dominicans, and I'll pay the city whatever I have to pay him. I'll have the guy out there training. Yo llamo un reggaetonero. Yo, barbecue, toda clase vaina aquí, la bocina. Bring me Dominican flags. That's all I need.
Let me ask you this, Juan. If I gave you $1 million in your pocket, right? All right, only for boxing. Only you got $1 million from Broadway Joel for boxing only. And I told you, you get to pick any Dominican boxer from prospect to current champion or amateur. Who would you invest in? Would you invest in Jan Santana, Roan Polanco, Elvis Rodriguez, Carlos Adames, Edwin de los Santos? Which one of those are you picking and go, you know what? I'm going to manage this one kid. But you only pick one. Don't give me 3. Don't give me 2. Give me one. Who would you invest in?
Wow. You know what's crazy? This is not even a difficult answer for me.
What's the answer?
If you gave me $1 million right now, I will grab Edwin de los Santos right now. You know why? This is why. It's just
I know why.
This is very easy. One, he has the skill set. He has knockout power. He already been on major platforms. He fought your call already. He already knocked out this kid Valenzuela game already. So it's gonna
it's funny. It's funny because you know how a promoter would have answered that question?
How you would have answered it?
The one who has the biggest name opponents. So they would have probably looked at 140 or 168, and that's who they would have picked.
They would have went for the high weights?
No, whoever has the most lucrative opponents.
Yeah, so whoever's in position to get a bigger payday.
For the opponents, we got Tank there, we got Martin there, we got
but they wouldn't even look at the fighter. They would look at how much money he might make from the opponent. So
I believe Edwin could go to 140.
135 with Tank.
I believe Edwin could go to 140 and beat a lot of guys at 140.
Yeah, but 140 might be the hottest spot.
Yeah, I'll have him move up to 140 eventually. Yes. Now that I will hire somebody to be there with him all day teaching him English because he will be talking English. I'll hire a social media guy, and I'll be inboxing and DMing people from baseball, making connections in baseball, making baseball with media people, and I'll be in there making those contacts where they'll be in there interviewing my guy, where he has to fly out there real quick for an interview, because you have to work outside of the ring as well if you want to be a household name.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
A lot of people get upset with Garcia. Oh, he's a diva. He's this. He's getting paid a lot of money for every fight.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are eating around him because of his social media presence. Mm-hmm. He could lose his next fight and still get a big payday his next fight after that because he has a following. Yep. And people don't understand that. They think boxing is just fighting. It's a lot of work. It's marketing.
Amateur is just fighting. Pro is.
Man, I will pay a videographer like $5,000. Make a documentary on De Los Santos. I want music. I want the background. I want the story of poverty of him coming up from nothing. I want the fans to know who he is. I want them to connect with him. I want him to talk about how I didn't have a place to sleep. My dude, I don't see that. Unfortunately,
you think they would do it though? So a lot of fighters are private. They might not. You think they'd be willing to do all that?
I mean,
I'm making you do it.
I was just gonna say that. One thing I realized about these fighters, as tough as they are, man, these guys are tough. These guys go through wars. They seem very scared or of their managers. Or I don't want to say scared, but they seem to be led blindly by their managers. I'll give you an example. I'm not going to mention names because I don't want to disrespect people's, privacy. But I've had fighters tell me, I don't like that trainer, man. I don't like him. I don't like the way he holds his mitts. I don't like the way he does this. I'm like,
okay, but they don't say
like, yo, you just go with Bob Santos. Just go with Joan Guzman. Just go with Ismael Salas. Just go with Freddie Roach. Just go with Robert Garcia. Just pick up and leave. Why the fuck are you there? Yo, my manager doesn't want me to go. I mean, your manager could advise you, hey man, I think you should stay with that guy. That guy's a good trainer.
I wonder why the manager would say no. Like, because wouldn't you think the manager would want the live not the you would think they would want what's best for the guy.
I mean,
so I wonder what the reason is.
No, I'll give you the specifics of this fighter, but again, I'm not going to mention it. I'll tell you the name off camera.
Yeah, that's fine. We don't hear the name.
Yeah. So there's one guy I know. His manager didn't like that trainer the way he was making him fight. But that fighter was telling me, man, this is where I'm comfortable. This is where I feel my strongest. This is where
he was trying to change his style.
Yeah, I'm not change his style, but I mean, just make him fight differently. Now, I don't want to say change his style because your style is your style. Just making him make adjustments. And this guy, the manager, didn't like him. And this guy swore up and down to me, I'm never gonna leave this guy. This, that, and the third. 2 months later, I see on social media, he puts out, oh, yeah, I'm now training with so-and-so. I'm so happy to be here. This, that, and the third. I give the guy a call. I'm like, what happened? Man, my manager kept bugging me. And I just, at the end of the day, he's the one who's invested in me. So I have to do what he says. No, you don't. No, you don't. I don't understand that. I'll give you another example. I'll actually give you a name this time. I spoke with Subriel Matias about an interview. Subriel Matias was like, of course, man. Like, the only thing is you have to speak to either my promoter or my manager. Yeah. And I don't want to, I've said the story before. I don't want to get too much into it anymore, but his manager basically didn't give the okay. His manager and promoter basically, I want to say didn't give the okay, never reached back out to me. I'll say that. I won't get into too much details. And when I spoke to Subriel, I'm like, hey, man, I'm having difficulty contacting your peoples. Can you just do the interview? He's like, no, the way I do it is I do whatever my manager tells me.
Yeah, that's been a struggle for decades. Do you fight for your manager or does your manager manage for you? That's been a struggle for ages. And so I want to say the majority of people are doing it as I'm just happy that my manager, I'm grateful for him, let him handle. I think the majority are still saying that. Some people have it the opposite way, where I only got one career, one boxing career. You can have 7 fighters, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna try to make you work for me. So it's kind of weird like that. Like I forgot who told the story, but like Anthony Joshua, right? You ever heard it? Like when you sign on to be his trainer or his manager or whatever, he tells you what to wear in the corner, right?
Really?
Yeah, because you're his team, so you got to wear the Anthony Joshua, the gear, whatever, right? So it's a very.
I think you meant
but that's opposite to what some other people are saying.
Yeah,
and he tells you. Now he's in a different bracket.
Yeah,
right. He could call shots, but you don't go to the gym when the trainer's available. The trainer goes to the gym when he's available. So it's a lot of people ain't in that position though. Mm-hmm. But I hear what you're saying. They got to try to find it could be a mutually beneficial relationship. But you turn your camera off and you talk to these managers behind the scenes or promoters, and they sound a little different when the camera ain't on.
Believe me, I know that. I know from experience. So believe me. And there's also a lot of times I'll speak to a fighter and they'll tell me about what their manager is doing. Then I'll talk to the manager, and the manager goes, "Yeah, I'm doing that because of X, Y, Z."
There's always two sides to the story. Exactly.
I'm like, okay, that guy left all that whole part out. So now
it makes sense. Sometimes you see the other side. It makes sense.
Yeah, for sure.
Wait, which I was touching on just now.
I don't even remember. What were you touching on?
We were touching on how some fighters like let the manager run their career as opposed to them having the manager guide them. Right. The manager, like, how do I say? Oh, speaking of a manager, I got Benji on.
Oh, what's up, Benji?
What's going on, fellas? How's
Aquí
everything, man?
quédase callado aquí.
I didn't know y'all was doing the show tonight, man.
Yeah, man.
We just found out like 2 hours ago.
Yeah,
I was
we
like
just
knocked
kind of
out.
planned it
I
off
was
the
like,
cuff.
I seen this, and I was like, let me see.
You gotta hop on, Benji.
You got something to say? The topics we've been touching on. We've been talking about managers. We've been talking about fighters, promoters.
Yeah. Where do we start?
I don't. There's so much to cover, and like there's so many problems, and like bro, I was hearing a little bit about the Don King, and I think Don King was like I think we missed Don King a lot, bro. He wouldn't have put up with a lot of the stuff that's going on. He told you what it was, and that's it. Like I always said, when I said that when the Klitschko brothers was champion, I said, I wish Don King was here because Don King would have taken him and been like, yo, you fighting your brother, or you're never fighting again, bro.
I mean, those fights. That wasn't a fight I needed to see. That was. I'm just saying. I could live without seeing.
He didn't put up with this, bro. He didn't do like that. This is, you letting the roosters run, the chickens run in the house right now, and that's not good for boxing. That's not good for business. Yeah. Business in general. You can't you imagine McDonald's and the employees run everything. How a McDonald's would be.
If the employees everything.
You can't there needs to be rules and regulations and structure, and you can't just pick and choose and allow these guys because they make money. I can fight whoever I want, and I don't have to fight this day or this guy or this, or I need all of these stipulations. That's nuts, bro.
Boxing's becoming WWF, becoming wrestling.
Bro, you have number one. You have people who are mandatories for 3 and 4 years. Bro, that's nuts, yo.
Because it really don't mean nothing. It's really why they can leave them there. They leave it for some and not others.
And I was hearing you talking about working social media. The problem was life has changed and society has changed. There was, I think, in the 80s and 90s, life was more lineal because you got all your information from a certain place, so they cater to the masses. Whereas now,
10 o'clock news, let's say,
whatever it is, right? And they cater to the masses, as opposed to now, you'll have 2 people do the exact same thing, and one person will gain 1 million followers, and the other person will have 100, and you're like, yo, why? They're doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So there's no rhyme or reason to stuff anymore. If a lot of these fighters went out and did what Ryan Garcia did with Jake Paul and the what is it, the body challenge or whatever, most of these guys wouldn't be popular. Ryan Garcia has the personality that people like to see do that.
Yeah.
Right? If Matias did that, you'd laugh and be like, I don't want to watch this.
No, but I'll say, I feel like anybody, if you're consistent at promoting yourself, you'll eventually figure it out. To a much smaller degree, but kind of like me in this channel.
I think
this channel.
Where I disagree is that you're taking fighters, and what sold was not only that these guys were let's say charismatic, but most of that charisma came from a belief that this guy was tough and he played to that, right? So like Mike Tyson, there was something about him that you just believed that he was that guy. Marvin Hagler, a lot of these guys, there's a couple of guys, De La Hoya or Sugar Ray Leonard that maybe didn't, or Ali, but Sonny Liston and the George Foreman, Joe Frazier, they played to that tough guy. Now it's I feel like you guys, you're asking for these fighters to be clowns. You want them to put on makeup and go on and make a fool out of themselves. I get you. They don't need to be shucking and jiving and doing all the you need to fight, bro. You need to fight. You need to look good. You need to,
but they ain't fighting, so they should do something else. Is what we're saying.
And that's the problem.
But
there's not activity. If you were
Benji, if you don't adjust, Benji, if you don't adjust, you die. That's how life works. That's not just boxing. You got to adjust to the landscape now. Not everything is going to stay the way it was in the 80s and 90s. If the landscape now is to figure out something else and do more interviews and podcasts and maybe you know, whatever, go to a certain block in the Bronx and do mitt works with, you know, or you know, do a collaboration with a hip hop art, a Dominican hip hop artist. You got to get creative. You got to adjust, or else you're going to become irrelevant. That's just the way life works. Boxing.
So, but like what you said, you're not giving anyone like a lineal, you know, like idea. You're like, yo, just go out there, keep trying different things. Some guys got to be tough. Some guys got to be pretty. Some guys got to be funny. And like, yo, that's not what this
position. Like, hold on, Benji. Hold on. Let me just get this off. Yo, when I started this channel that we're on right now, I was interviewing random people in the street, asking them random questions. That's how this channel started. I was like,
why you laughing?
Y'all want to see a video? Y'all want to see a video? I'll show it to y'all.
Yo, it was in the street.
I was in the streets. Yo,
like a roving reporter.
Can I ask you this question? Can I ask you a question?
Right. Before it was cool to do it. You did that.
Boom, boom, boom. And then I stopped doing it because I ain't like it. Then I started doing boxing. No, I started making little mini documentaries. Little mini 5-minute documentaries. I did that. It just wasn't for me. It was a lot of work. Then I started talking about boxing. I liked it. Okay, I continued. My views wasn't up. And then all of a sudden, I fell into my niche of Dominican boxing.
Yeah.
Why? Because I kept trying. I kept trying shit until I figured it out. I ain't just stopped.
It could be something like hitting the heavy bag, you know, in the gym, just a 20-second clip or whatever, stuff like that. It don't have to be putting on the red nose and the big shoes all the time, right? Just try it.
So I think right, like I think that, like, you know, we put in a lot of money and time and effort into getting videos and content for Elvis and putting it up, and
you see returns on them?
No, everything's
all the returns really came when he would fight, and that's when he would gain the biggest, like, you know, he'd gain, like, we do this video for months, and we break up videos, and like we might get like a, you know, 20, 100, 200 followers, but when he would fight, he'd get like 10,000, 20,000 followers because he was knocking guys out, and it was fun, and it was exciting, and you know, Top Rank was pushing him hard at the time. You know, it was just a different, like, that's where he was getting his followers from. Like, you know, I don't see Tank is Tank, bro. Like, he's not on social media going crazy. Like,
no, some guys just got what they call it.
Right. Let's be real here. Yeah. When you tag yourself next to the biggest face in boxing, you're gonna get some following. So Tank just didn't come out of nowhere. Yeah. Let's be honest.
Yeah, Mayweather up and down with him.
Well, I'm gonna give you a non-boxing example, right? I got a driving school right in Brooklyn, right? And one of my students was social media, whatever, manager for a clothing company, right? So her clothing company, I don't even know what they sold, but she said that she was in charge of their social media. And from her post, whatever it is she does on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, whatever, generates more money than the sales of the clothes, right? Wow. And she's just putting on videos like what to wear when you go to the beach, what to wear when you go to Hawaii, what bag to combine. So you got to find it, but it's not. It's a potential.
I think we're looking at it like from an individual problem where it's a systemic problem. You don't see, like, and I hate to sound like a broken record, bro. And
that's what I was about to say.
Joel, you probably know where I'm going to go with this, bro. But you don't see UFC fighters doing that, bro. UFC fighters all have 1 million followers, and they're not shucking and jiving and doing bodywork challenges, bro. Like, they are popular because they fight
more often, but they fight more often, and UFC got that brand.
So that's what I'm saying. So it's a systemic problem. It's not a problem on the individual level.
Yeah.
You know,
Benji, give me 4 or 5 UFC fighters active though, not retired, active fighters.
You asking the wrong guy about UFC because you asking the wrong guy, bro.
That's my
but
point.
I know that if you like when you go into the UFC, like I think when the last time I had checked, like they all had a minimum of like 700,000 followers, and which is nuts, bro. It's nuts. Yo.
Jose, Joel, Benji, this is something that I believe I'm gonna try to articulate this in a way we could all get it. I learned this from working at a particular place, dealing with labor law. Anytime there's a power structure that benefits from an injustice, they will fight 3 times as hard to keep the things the way they are instead of changing it. Why? Because they benefit from the power structure being set up that way. The people that are climbing up the ladder, like me, you, Joel, we have to fight more than them to make it more even. It's unfortunate, but they will never make it more of an even playing field for people.
You got to play the cards you dealt.
We have to be the ones to shake it up. Yeah. The power structure will never bow down and say.
Boxing's problem is ultimately systemic, and I think for me it's tough to watch because I think what's been happening lately is something that I never would have thought. Like I think like if you were to go back, for decades, people with all the problems boxing had, what was the thing that people always said about boxing? It's never gonna die. Boxing's always gonna be here. Boxing's always gonna be here. And like the last year or so, like it's scary. Like I could see boxing I could see boxing dying and just
it's shrinking for sure.
Totally gone in 10 years.
You know Jack Dempsey, you ever heard of Rocky Marciano, champion from the 1950s?
Of course.
He says he didn't put a number on it, but he says as people get more civilized and they get more alternatives, you're going to see boxing going down, down, and down. Because he said at the root of it, most people are always going to think boxing is barbaric, right? So it could easily get pushed to the side. Sometimes, though, boxing is his own worst enemy, though, sometimes.
I don't know if it's that it's barbaric. I think,
but that's his words, right.
Right, I think
compared to other sports.
Where I think Rocky Marciano was right in that is that I think society has changed and
society's
people are much more
changed. Exactly.
And so people and fighters and athletes are just not as tough as they used to be. When you're in a sport that's reliant on that toughness, and you have guys who are no longer tough dominating the sport, it hurts the sport.
But it's crazy. It's crazy how. Even though it looks that way on one side, but then you get this like power slap league, and then you get the bare knuckle.
No, I think people will always like violence.
UFC,
but I just think that the individuals and the athletes are not as tough. And now you have guys who you would not, let's say, the guys who used to dominate boxing were guys that, the general public are like, yo, if I ran into him in the street, he would kill me. Like nobody's walking down nobody watching boxing sees Shakur Stevenson. It's like if I see him down the street, he gonna kill me, bro. Like
what was
the
Mike
average
Tyson's
person.
name?
No, I'm just shocked that when you walk down the street with some of these guys, they don't even recognize who they are.
Bro, I know people I know people who don't think that boxers can fight, and they're just like, yeah, I'll kill any boxer, bro. I'm just gonna pick him up, slam him, and choke him out, bro. And like you wouldn't have heard that in the 90s, and that hurts boxing. That hurts boxing because you got these guys who don't go in there, who don't put, this. People like to be amazed in sports, right? Like people love the stories of Jordan playing through the flu and dunking from the foul line, because that's like almost like superhero-ish. What Ali did was like superhero-ish. What Tyson was doing was superhero-ish. What guys have done since the Mayweather era is like, okay, like it's not what we expect.
Yeah.
I will always go back to what I was telling my brothers and sisters, my brothers earlier. You are a commodity. You're an enterprise. You need to. You're a product. You got to connect with the people. And this is no disrespect to your fighter or anyone else, but very rarely do I hear about any fighter's private life. I want to hear about you. I'm a boxing fan. I want to hear about Elvis. Tell me about his life story. Tell me about his background. I want to hear about those things. I want to connect about those things. And we don't get that no more.
Well, Juan is starving for something. And when you get less fights, then they're gonna want that something to fill that void. And that's why me and Joel was saying, try to get this guy in a rap video. It don't have to be him doing a challenge, right? Try to get him a deal with something, just trying something. And I'm not saying it's easy. It ain't gonna work for everyone, but
I'm all about activity. Like, I think guys need to stay in that ring, and and I think who the greatest. I think the greatest example of that is today, right now, who completely changed the trajectory of his career just by being active, is Anthony Joshua.
Anthony Joshua, yeah.
When Anthony Joshua lost to this guy, Ruiz, and you like his stock just plummeted, and then he lost to Usyk, and it was kind of like, and what did he do? He just kept coming and kept fighting and kept fighting, win, lose, or draw. And right now, his stock is up. Right now, people are back to thinking he's the best heavyweight in boxing.
And
it was through activity.
And he fought Wallin and a UFC fighter, so it's not like he's fighting the top tier. But they see him fight, and that's the difference, exactly.
Yep.
It's a show. You have a show to sit and watch. Yeah. We have no shows with the guys we want to see.
No.
Can you imagine this? And look, take a guy like Tank. Can you imagine if Tank fought 4 or 5 times a year? What a star he would be!
Oh wow! And then those undercards, and then those opponents would be stars. Those opponents would be stars too.
Exactly. No, it's just a lot of these guys. They making so much money now, especially the guys at top, that they fight. Let's say they make $20 million a year, and that's just a round number I just threw.
Upside heavy. That's the problem.
You fight twice, you made 40. Why put your body?
I mean, Anthony did it. Anthony did it. Canelo did it. So because just
no, I'm explaining. I'm not justifying it. I'm just saying what these.
He's the devil's advocate right now. Joel's been the devil's advocate right now, saying
why does Elon Musk keep working?
Oh, it's a different type of.
But Elon Musk not getting punched in the head.
But it don't, bro. Like, you either love this or you don't, bro.
But the people that are hungry right now, like Elvis, that's on the come up. They want those opportunities.
And Elvis and I have discussed about him becoming champion. He's like, look, in his perfect world, if he became champion, he'd defend it 3 times a year.
For instance, right now, Benji, are you so hungry that if Pro Box was to call Elvis and you have no fight date, will you go on Pro Box TV and fight? You know it's not going to be a good person.
So Elvis is coming back in June, by the way, guys.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you for letting us know that.
Wait. Against who?
Gabriel.
Breaking news.
Goyas Valenzuela.
He's actually ranked. He's actually ranked in, I believe, the IBF. Let me. What platform will that be?
Amazon.
Oh yeah. Oh, so he's okay.
Okay. Is that on the Tank undercard?
I don't know yet for sure.
They may have a fight date.
I'll find out.
Hopefully,
that's not an easy. By the way, that's not an easy fight. That's not an easy.
I don't even know that opponent, Joe. Who is that opponent?
That's the guy he fought on Canelo's undercard. I believe he's Rayo's brother, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
I could be wrong on that. But I believe he's Rayo's brother, Gabriel Valenzuela, right? Hold on.
I don't know.
Look, let's look him up. Ya antes, Benji estaba agarrado con esa, calladito.
Exclusive. You know, you only get.
That's
breaking
got
news.
that news today. So
that's fresh.
That's fresh off. Is this the first time you tell a journalist?
yeah, I haven't said nothing yet. Like,
Hey, Joel, he brings the exclusives to you, man. What kind of backdoor deal you got with this guy, man? La lianta buena.
look, it's not the fight we were looking for. It's not the ideal situation, but
This guy's tough, man. This guy's not an easy fight. I've seen him fight multiple times. If I'm not mistaken, he didn't he beat Montana Love? Let me look this up.
I think he lost to Montana Love.
Oh, he lost him, but he dropped him.
He dropped Montana Love. Yeah.
What's his name? What's his name again?
Is Gabriel Goyas Valenzuela.
So Steve Spark, he beat Spark. Spark was on a little run when he beat him.
He beat Steve Spark, but if you watch that fight, he did not beat Steve Spark.
All right.
He's not in the top 15, Joel. This guy. But he has a great record. I'm surprised he's not.
Ulises is the kid that beat Zach Ochoa. Remember when Jack Ochoa, he stopped him like in 7 8 rounds?
Yeah.
So
he's ranked. Oh no, God, my bad.
Oh, he is ranked with the WBO top 12.
With the WBO, he's ranked number 12. Elvis is ranked number 7. So if he beats him, he's definitely moving up. Catterall and Taylor are fighting each other. Eventually, we'll see. That fight got delayed.
Man, Benji, my heart goes out to you though, Benji, man, because you have a guy right now that can fight for a title, and you know it, has the talent. And
nobody wants to fight him.
And unfortunately, the power structure is not gonna,
Nobody wants to fight him. Everyone turns him
Benji,
down. Nothing I can do, bro.
This was basically you got it. It was your only offer. You got to take it, right?
Stay busy, fight busy.
It's essentially, there was a few offers on the table.
Okay.
There was a few offers on the table from different people. I think it's the offer that my fighter most wanted, so I gotta support him.
All right.
Now, is the money right? You don't gotta say the number. But is the money right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's reasonable. That's good. What about? Can you talk about other opponents that were mentioned? Can you? So
this would be for the number 2 spot in the IBF, and then our next fight this year would be for the number 1 spot.
Oh, so you got a lined up schedule for you.
Yeah.
And since this is for the number 2 spot in the IBF, will he be under those rehydration rules?
I got to fight. We're gonna iron out all of that stuff in the upcoming week right now.
Okay.
Hey,
Benji, you gotta pay sanction fees on that fight?
Nah.
Okay.
There's no title involved, so
it is exciting.
What happened with the Subrio Matias negotiations? This is the first time I have you on since that. There was a lot of rumors swirling. Hold on. Let me set the stage.
Share what you can.
That smile says it all right there. He doesn't have to answer.
Share what you can. I understand you can't share everything, but share what you can.
I mean, look, it is what it is. It's funny. I've been I don't like to shit on people like that because I know ultimately it's not the fighter's choice.
It's the business.
But I think me and my team see holes in Matias that Elvis can expose, and the only thing I figure is that his team see the same holes, and every time the fight comes up, it doesn't get made, and we say yes, and it was it had to be in Puerto Rico. We would take it short money for what I think that fight was worth. We had to give him a rematch. We couldn't take a fight in between, and
and you said yeah to everything.
Everything, bro.
Wow.
Everything.
And so, do you think that Matias's team?
Kudos to his. So I'll say this: I know for a fact that because there is a journalist who interviewed Eddie Hearn, and I know for a fact that Eddie wanted
that fight.
Elvis.
Wow.
So, but Eddie's as a promoter should, he's taking it on the chin and being like, "Nah, we wanted Paro, but nah." Like I know for a fact he told a promoter on camera that he wanted Elvis, the Elvis fight.
And that fight's still there. The potential of that fight in the future is still there.
I just look. I'm gonna say this, without giving too much away. Jukambayev and Petros are both southpaws and both really hurt Matias, and Elvis hit significantly harder than both those guys.
I'm gonna tell you something right now that might sound very offensive and disrespectful, man. But we got to get to a point where we stepping on the flag or something to make the.
Come on, no.
I like that. Look at that.
No.
Bernard Hopkins. Or something.
But isn't he have Dominican? So which flag are we stepping on, bro? Like,
no, not stepping on it. But a Bernard Hopkins type of thing when he sold the Trinidad fight. We gotta sell that fight, Joe. Not stepping on it.
I'm not co-signing none of that, bro. I'm not co-signing none of that because
look, I think
hold on.
Look, Matias is a warrior, and he deserves respect, just like Elvis. And his team his team felt that going a different route, just like all of the guys did, because it wasn't just him. Everybody. Teofimo, same thing, bro.
No, what I meant was this. Una desafía. Like basically Los Santos, like he went to something like that. Something
I think it speaks for itself. They respond to every other fighter. They respond to Rivera. But every time, like all those posts were made about him turning down Elvis. Every time the Elvis, none of them, they don't say nothing. It's radio silence from their team and Elvis. I have it in writing. It's not like they can say, bro, I have it in writing, yo. You want to say that you didn't get the fight? Look, I have it in writing, bro. So like, I don't know what you guys want to say now, yo. We said yes. What do you want to do, yo?
Oh, so it wasn't. We thought that you guys turned down the fight because of the money or something like that.
Who, us?
That's what I was thinking. The money wasn't good enough.
No, I didn't turn down. I would never turn down the Matias fight. Never, bro.
Wow.
Elvis would never turn that fight down, bro.
Wow. You hear this, Joel?
No, I listen. There's a lot of things I know and I can't speak of, but one thing I will say is, I don't think it's Matias turning down that fight.
No, I don't think so either. I don't think so either.
I think it's his team, and be honest with you,
I think it's a dangerous fight. He's coming off of an injury.
Fight for both fighters.
He's coming off of an injury. It's in Puerto Rico. They want him to show out, and he's not going to show out against Elvis, bro. Period, bro. He struggles with southpaws. Elvis has power in both hands, and nobody wants to face that. Well, I think that's the problem that we're having.
There was a report that Tio was that Elvis was offered to Tio. Is that true?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. How deep was those discussions with you?
Well, we were as far as I knew, and up until Monday of last week, it was us. Like, wow, it's you. So I was like, but I had always said, I'm like, yo, I don't see Teofimo and his camp choosing Elvis over Steve Claggett, bro. Like, I don't see, like, that don't make.
And they don't have to take the fight. It's under mandatory. Yeah.
I mean, but no fights are mandatory for him because he's a super champion.
Oh, he's a super. Oh, wow.
It's such a weird game. And this is where Jose really gets upset because you don't like the sanctioning body game as much as I don't. Like, well, the fuck shit. I won't say the game. The weirdo thing. How one rules apply to this champion but not to this guy. And this belt has this rule, but that one doesn't.
You know, when you saw them start out as babies, and now you see them and you see how much people pay attention to them, it's crazy. Because when they first came out, they were like, who are these guys? But it's like picture in 15 years, everyone listening to the IBO, like calling shots and shit, right? So I just don't listen to them because I grew up. I seen them when they came up. So to me, and then some of the decisions they make is just bullshit. They just make rules that are like benefit them before the game. You know,
it's unfortunate because those belts increase your pay. Those belts actually matter. Whether it matters to you,
but it's now. You got to have a belt now. Everyone else got a belt. You got to have a belt now.
But think about
I was less upset at the Teofimo situation. I think for me, you know, Teofimo is in a kind of like financially is in a different league.
Yeah.
So I understood that a little more. I think the Matias situation and the Jose Ramirez situation, you know, him and Jose Ramirez are kind of, let's say, around the same level. I know where as Elvis is coming up, Ramirez is on the decline, but like as they're passing each other, they're meeting at like the same level. So I felt like that would have been like the perfect fight for both guys. If Ramirez wanted to get back in the mix of things, he should have been able to beat Elvis. And
this is what hurts me, Benji. Well, Benji, this is what hurts me. What hurts me is that you, and I don't want to say this, but the powers that be might want to keep your horse away from the power structure, those top 1 guys, top 2, top 3, and then you have to get the hardest road towards the belt. You got to fight the hardest contenders, the hardest people that nobody wants to see at the top, and then you might potentially take it out because you're fighting the best people. You're really fighting the best people in the division.
I think so. Back in the day, I feel like champions cleaned out divisions. Now I feel like champions sit back and wait till the division cleans itself out, and they fight the remainder.
They fight the remainder. They don't got to take the hard road.
And like, that's just not how things should be done. But like, it is what it is.
Number 1. You don't hear nobody talking about fighting him. Barroso. Those guys, none of those didn't. Those guys are not going to fight guys like that because they're hard matchups. And they don't have a name. So the contenders, the top 10 guys, got to fight these guys that don't have backing by big promoters. So it's BS. And I understand.
Like, think of like, imagine if you told the megastars and the LeBron Jameses and, you know, the megastars and you know, basketball or baseball. Yo, you don't have to come to practice and you don't have to play every game. Just play whatever game you feel like it. Let us know and come to the practices you want. You think they're gonna play every game?
And you get a championship ring.
And you got a championship ring.
And you get a ring, yeah.
You think they're gonna play every game, bro? Like
an interim ring.
And then whatever, exactly. Everyone will get a ring, yeah.
You're gonna get paraded like the champion amongst the masses.
Yeah.
And you're perceived to be the champion. It's true.
Mm-hmm.
And these guys argue, like boxing fans argue amongst each other for this very thing. Because we don't have a clear guy.
You had the 4 Kings for what, 4 or 5 years now, and there's only been one fight amongst them. This is going to be the second.
Garcia had the 4th fight.
And it's Garcia fighting all of them.
And it's
yeah,
because he's the money guy, and I wish I understood it. I wish I understood what why allow it. But you know, like I think it's the hand that's dealt, and you got to play it. Like nothing else you could really do.
You know, it's funny.
They're the title 140, never fought at 140.
Hagler, Hearns, they weren't called the 4 Kings until they fought each other.
Wow.
Now these guys got called the 4 Kings before fighting each other. So it just shows you how, yeah, exactly, man.
Fighting bums.
Bro.
They were kings fighting guys that we knew they were going to beat.
Yeah, right. The 4 Kings, and I won't say that about Tio at the time because Tio had beat Loma, where
Loma was a small guy coming up, bro, doing amazing things as he was moving up. Teofimo's a big 135 with talent. He's coming from 126, right? Loma.
Yeah, but at the time he had already fought at the division a while, had 3 out of the 4 belts, So it wasn't like this guy was just moving up this tiny little puny 135 pounder. The guy was fighting and the champion at 135.
What I'm saying,
you got to think at the time, Loma was the money guy there. So like, what was his? What was he gonna say? No. Who was he gonna do instead? And he had all the belts.
And Teofimo was given that opportunity. Why? Because he's promoted by Top Rank.
So and when we saw Teofimo, like that's what Elvis told him. That Elvis like, yo, listen, someone gave you opportunity. Why don't you give someone else the opportunity?
That's real.
What did he say?
I don't know.
Oh, win one more fight, and we'll talk about it.
That's crazy, bro. You got to be given an opportunity.
Yo, these guys like they not.
This shit is about opportunity, bro. Someone has to. Joel, the champion has to decide if he wants to fight you. That shit is crazy, bro.
It's a funny world,
but that only works sometimes because I'll tell you right now, Elvis becomes champion. Believe me, they're not gonna allow him to do that.
Oh no, they're gonna throw the dogs at you.
Hell no, Dominican. We got to earn it the hard way. Unfortunately,
that's what
we got to take fights on short notice, like Hector Luis Garcia and Edwin De Los Santos, and prove to people that way that we belong.
You got to fight undefeated guys that nobody else wants to fight. You got to fight the worst of the best of the best.
Yo, but
it's unfortunate.
Ideally, I wanted Gary, but
did you throw that out there? Did you throw that out there?
I think it's a possible, like, to happen this year. It's not going to happen on that fight, on that card.
That's a title fight, if you ask me. On talent alone,
with the same deal, like winners number 2, winners number 1.
I think it'll probably be for like the number 1.
That should be for
or maybe even for like if somebody vacates, maybe even for like the vacant title.
Okay. That should be
Gary. I'll say this: Gary Antoine Russell is ranked number 3 in the WBC. So
in the WBC,
yeah. If you beat him, you beat in undefeated, 100% knockout ratio, top 3 rated in the sanctioning body. That will move you up in that sanctioning body. You can go that route.
This is gonna sound funny, but I almost rather the era of boxing where those guys were forced to take fights and then would be given gifts from the judges than this era where they're not forced to fight anybody.
Because then the fans will see the truth. Oh, he really
right, exactly. Because at least we can see it. Yo, listen, like, yo,
we know Barroso
he ain't really win that fight, yo.
We really know Barroso be Rolly.
I get what you're saying. Yo, fellas,
it's been a great.
I gotta end the show. I'm sorry,
but this guy always ended the show early.
I was gonna say, damn, I'll leave it another 10 minutes if it.
That was a great content, Benji. Thank you for hopping on and providing.
Man, it's my pleasure. Thank you guys for having me.
Good talking to all you guys again.
And we appreciate the exclusive. You already know. You already heard it here first. Elvis is fighting Gabriel Goyas Valenzuela. Yeah. I'll make sure to clip that and post that on social media for the fans who didn't catch it live, for them to see. But before I end the show, I actually want to end the show with showing you guys me interviewing random people in the street. Y'all got 3 minutes just to hang out?
Yeah, put it on.
Let's see Joel humble beginnings.
Hold on 1 second.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Broadway Joe. I'm on 138th and Broadway, and I'm asking the people, is cheating forgivable? Check it out.
Oh, my boy looking fly.
What's your name? Where you from?
Louis Torres, Brooklyn, New York, Bensonhurst.
All right, so the question I'm asking, is cheating forgivable?
You know what? No. I'm going to have to say no.
Why not?
It's bullshit. I mean, listen, if you're with somebody, you're with somebody, right? Like I got somebody I'm with. I thought I caught her cheating on me recently, and I was never going to go near it again, to tell you the truth. Because at that point, you're dirty. You're dirty to me. I don't got time for the games. That's bullshit.
How did you think she was cheating on you?
I'm not going to go into detail about that. Well, you know what? She may be watching this. If she does, I'm dead. So I don't want to get myself in deeper shit. But you know what? I saw something I didn't like. and it turned out it was innocent. I hope, but now I know she's not. She's not that type of girl.
All right. How about if it was a drunken mistake? Is that something forgivable?
That's bullshit. No, listen, I've been drunk many times in my life, and I ain't sticking my shit nowhere and not forget about it. Okay. So that's just total bullshit. Oh, I was drunk, so I stuck my dick in her, and I just didn't mean to do it. Get the fuck out of here. Like, that's just bullshit. That's bullshit. Like, listen, if you open the legs, you know what the fuck you're doing. Okay? I'm 50 years old. I'm not retarded. Like, no.
Yo, you got a practice tag.
I got it. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Listen, suggestion to all you guys out there: if she says it was a mistake, give her a shit, send the bitch packing, because that's not flying. Period.
That don't exist in your world.
No, it doesn't, because once she cheats, she's going to do it again and again. Vice versa. If he cheats once, he's going to do it again and again. Like, why would you want to be with somebody like that? Right or wrong? Like, this is either me or you, we're together, or we're not. If you tell me, listen, I want an open relationship, I'm cool with that. Hey, listen, I'm fine. If you can have your cake and eat it too, then so can I. Right or wrong? That's the way it should be. But if you say we're together, that means two people as one. Not me, you, Jack, Harry, Sally, and Mary, and all them others. Because you never know what you're getting nowadays anyway.
Yeah, you feel like there should be ground rules before anything.
I've known this person all my life, mostly. And I just don't go for that type of shit. And again, I'm going to say, you never know. Why would you want to bring your girl home something or your boyfriend home something that they didn't come in with, right? Because then you got to explain where the fuck you got it from. Period. It's like a guy saying, "Oh, honey, those panties in the back of my car belong to my sister." Bullshit. Or that lipstick. You know, the women know what color lipstick they wear. They know damn well what color panties they wear. They know garter belts in the back of the car. That's that jokey hokey dokey shit. Like I go home and screw my head off at night. Come on.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Happy Thanksgiving, fellas, ladies.
All right. So first, what's your name? Where you from?
All right. There you go.
You got some interesting content in there, though.
That was good quality back then.
Yeah.
And that video, I got more videos where I'm asking random questions. I'm asking just a bunch of questions.
You had a cameraman?
You had a camera?
I had a camera stand. I had my DSLR camera. I would set it up. I would try to stop people. Hey, you want to give me an interview? Hey. And then once I got somebody to stop, I would just go, press record, turn my mic on. It was wireless. I could sync it to my camera, and I would just ask questions. And a lot of times it was interesting questions like that. And sometimes I would get interesting answers. Sometimes like the video.
You have good audio too, like somebody trained you.
Yeah, I mean, I went to school, brother. I went to school, so I had some classes where I learned how to edit videos, or I learned how to use audio mics and stuff like that, and what works well, what doesn't. And like I said, I was like, I don't know, I want to do content, I just didn't know what, so I just did that until I figured it out, and now I figured it out. This is what I want to do.
You should go back out on the street and see if the random person knows certain boxes or something.
I'm like, do you know who Shakur Stevenson is?
Yeah, exactly. Something like
that. That'll just make boxing look bad because
it'd be a social experiment. It'd be a social experiment.
I should go to 34th and Broadway, right in front of
the close-up of the street sign though. That was a nice little angle there.
Yeah. No, I worked my way from 155th Street all the way to 135th Street. Every week I would go to Harlem, and on Harlem and Broadway. The goal was to go from 155th all the way to Canal and Broadway. But I ended up not. I stopped at 135th. It was just getting dangerous. Like I was putting myself. I'm in Harlem. I'm not from out there. It was just getting dangerous, and I wasn't enjoying the process so much, so I just kind of gave it up. I was like, you know what? It ain't for me. I didn't feel like I had the charisma for it. There was another one.
Joel.
What's up?
A real quick thing before Benji leaves, because I got to appreciate that he's here. We don't know when Benji, what are you hearing in terms of the Prime deal? Are they going to get more days? It's just going to be a pay-per-view?
I really... look, I will answer any questions regarding Elvis. That's all I can say, bro.
Okay, good.
Any questions regarding Elvis, I'll answer. Other than that, I don't know, bro.
That's real. That's real. That's as real as you could get.
Yeah.
Look at Joel. Joel's crying like, nah, this motherfucker no sign. He just ain't trying.
I know everything I need to know. I'll put it like that. But right now, I'm actually pulling up another interview. This one is probably the funniest one I've ever done.
I gotta go tonight.
Do your thing, brother. Do your thing, my man.
Have a good one, and thank you for having me on. Appreciate it.
No, I appreciate you. You know you're always welcome. All right.
Good night.
All right. So this will be really the last video I'll play. But this one is too funny not to play. I don't know when else I'm gonna be playing my old content on here. So I'm like, since y'all like that one, yeah, I feel like y'all like this one. Oh, I forgot to screen share. Hold on, my bad. This one is pretty ridiculous.
After 142nd and Lennox.
All right. So the question I'm asking: do you think marijuana should be legalized here in New York City?
Absolutely.
Why?
Because it makes more babies and it makes bitches suck dick.
You grab the strongest straggler.
Of course, I love to slurp and burp.
Joel, when you got off the corner, Joel,
I don't even know what to say.
Pass. That's what you say.
So it's not pump pass, it's slurp slurp.
Yes. Times a day, right?
All right. I don't know how to follow that up. I'm gonna just end that right there.
Joel said, I gotta stop the video. Hold on. Yo. Where you You must have seen it on the corner.
Yeah, that shit was hilarious.
She caught you by surprise, or you?
Very much.
Yeah, she caught me by surprise. I had just with her, right? I had just interviewed somebody else, and she's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Oh, I'm interviewing people." She's like, "Could you interview me?" I was like,
"Oh yeah, you can check out a banger for you."
That's red flag already.
That would happen to me all the time. That would happen to me all the time when I was doing that. People would be like, "Oh, what are you doing?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm recording videos for my YouTube channel." And they're like, "All right, yo, like interview me." That happened. That would happen to me all the time. And it wasn't a red flag. And then she comes out of nowhere with that. And you know what's funny?
After she walked off what?
After she walked off, she just started skipping. She was skipping away.
You should have filmed that, man.
It was like a movie. I was like, what the hell? That was 5 years ago. That was 5 years ago.
I know your lady was like, huh? Was this some great content, right?
That lady was just crazy. It was she had nothing to worry about that.
You could tell by the way she kept petting her hair, you know. So you knew something was up there.
No, but fellas, man, I really appreciate you guys hopping on, man.
Okay, thank you for hopping on.
Peace.
Yeah, man, we'll definitely have more of these historical type videos and streams just to inform the public, and as well as towards the end, you know, we talk current boxing and have our little fun.
Yeah.
Un placer siempre. Cuídense, mi gente.
I thought, mi gente, follow me on Instagram, Broadway Joel. Follow me on Twitter @_Broadway Joel. And if you want a Dominican boxing shirt, go to BroadwayJoel.com and go buy.
Yeah, I gotta get one, man.
Yeah, for sure. I gotta send you one for free. Don't worry about it, man. I gotta get you one for free.
All right, we can do that. Yep. Yeah. All right, my man. Have a good one.
Same to you. Peace.